Grand Rising Soul Tribe, welcome. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. This is the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. Joyous Rising, Great Rising, a Grand Rising. Check in, family. Let us know where you're hailing from. I'll get to your questions. I see there are some questions in the chat, but come on in because we have something to discuss this morning. I tried to do a live report while I was out and about this rising, but we had some problems with connections and people were saying that my picture was blurred. So that's okay. We're back. Come on in. We're going to talk about how President Donald Trump has stated that illegal immigration policies actually harm Americans. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear this because they prefer to think that President Donald Trump is just being racist, or he's being just out there making up things. But illegal immigration harms Americans in that it affects our economy. It affects and staggers our economy, and it hurts the job market so that Americans have a difficult time finding jobs. So come on in, check in. And I'll acknowledge you as you come in the room. Come on in, family. Hey, 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 hey. Good afternoon. Grand Rising, Earth Angel. Grand Rising, Solo. Come on in the room. Grand Rising. Hi, George. Good to see you from Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, you're talking about change of status. Thank you, George. Good question. Islam family. Grand Rising. Hi, Tiffany. Good to see you. Sister Tiffany. Jeffrey Shorts in the house. Welcome. Grand Rising. I see you here, Sister Lisa. Hello. Come on in. Check in the room, family. We'll play the music as you come on in the room.
Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. So tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way.
Come in the room.
To a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realize.
I love you more. Thank you so much for your kind words. Come on in the room, family. Come on in the room. Greetings. Still holding on to your foreign currencies. Yes, let's get these humanitarian projects started. All right. Get started in a few minutes.
To a brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear a call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
right, Soul Tribe. Let me stop the music here. Well, Grand Rising, this Moon Day check-in. We have almost 200 people in the room. Let us know where you're hailing from. I see some people are ready to start their humanitarian projects because we have entered that golden era, right? And as you are coming in the room, I just want to remind you that I did a podcast, and I've been doing several podcasts about how we're entering into a new era. And I've been doing podcasts on universal high income, just giving people some time to come into the room. Universal high income is a large amount of money that will be given to all Americans and nationals in their homelands. This is to alleviate the pressure from people who are losing their jobs with the advent of AI, is artificial intelligence. They're taking over a lot of jobs. But they're also not telling you that governments worldwide are actually closing. So the unlawful, illegal governments that had politicians in them that were not a part of the lawful republics of these countries are being forced to step down. The same is happening here in the United States of America. And good for us, the Supreme Court of the United States had overturned the Chevron doctrine, which then called for the governments to be significantly downsized and closed. So those remaining jobs that could serve the people would be absorbed by the republic, our lawful government. The same is happening abroad, which is why you heard recently that Iraq confiscated billions and trillions of dollars, US dollars, Iraqi dinar, gold, and other assets from Iraqi CIA agents. Put a pin in that if you want to know more about that and how that's going to affect the revaluing of the Iraqi dinar against the USD. Join our private group. So just hit the join button, follow the prompts, and you'll be in our private group. We'll talk about the implications of Iraq cleaning up corruption and bringing in an official of the administration from Iraq here. President Trump has invited him here. We talked about who he is, who this new leader of Iraq is, why he's important and key to the Iraqi dinar being revalued, and what that means for the Iraqi people. He's not a politician, so join the private group and you'll learn more about that. But that's happening all over the world. Thank you for almost 200 people being in the chat. With these governments cleaning up corruption and removing politicians from key places, even from the president's or prime minister seats, they're also now placing in those seats economists, entrepreneurs who have a background in finances and economic policies, because these new leaders are putting in economic policy reforms that will help these nations. Not only are these nations doing economic policy reforms to stabilize their economy, but they're revaluing their currency against the USD, and they're backing those currencies up with precious metals. At the same time, they are creating sovereign wealth funds. President Trump created a sovereign wealth fund in 2025 when he came back as the third president. Many people think he's only the second president. He was actually the third president. If you watch the movie Melania and you see in some of the other press releases, you'll see Trump 45 through 47 because Biden was just an actor. But now that we're in Trump's third administration, for those of you who believe it's only his second, that's okay. He's the 47th president of the United States Incorporated. He created the Sovereign Wealth Fund in 2025. He also wrote or signed 225 executive orders. So this Sovereign Wealth Fund is comprised of stocks, bonds, real estate, rare earth minerals, land, oil, and other resources, as well as foreign currency reserves. Those are tier 2 assets. Gold is tier 1 asset, and tariff and taxes that President Trump brokered, the money from tariffs and taxes that he brokered when he went to China, the second largest economy in the world last year, and when he went to the Middle Eastern nations. He brokered trillions of dollars in tariffs and taxes, and that money will be in the sovereign wealth fund, which will come to we the people through what's called universal high income. That's different from universal basic income. Universal basic income is just income that the government gives you to meet certain basic needs: food, shelter, clothes, those type of things. And those are pilot programs that's been occurring nationwide, unbeknownst to a lot of people. Universal basic income, an allotment of money, maybe a small amount, 500 to 1,000, some even more, to people who were from different demographics. Now, a lot of us didn't even know about this. I found out, I think it was Bakersville, California, somewhere in California. I can't remember the correct place. When I lived in Sacramento, though, there's a state right outside. It's not Bakersville. There's a city right outside of Sacramento where I think it was like 2017, 2018. There was a brother who was a mayor there, a man identified as Black, African American, indigenous male, who gave an allotment to all of the city citizens. You could apply, or if you knew about it, you could just receive those benefits. That was one of the pilot programs that we now know was universal basic income. So universal basic income is monies from the government that take care of basic needs. And yesterday, if you saw my podcast, I showed you universal basic income programs that were going along in America between the 1960s all the way up to currently today, that were experimentation programs or pilot programs to see how people would do if you give them money, even if they're working. So let me just pause right here to say, if you want to join a private group to discuss investments, like the currencies that many of you hold, foreign currencies, you want to know what they are. Oh, and I did a report that I got from precious metals owners about what inside traders are doing. As you see the precious metals declining in value, I did a report in my private group yesterday where these people are rushing to. So they might be selling off their assets. They might be selling off gold, silver, oil, all other assets, but they're rushing to some other things. And I reported that in my private group yesterday. So join a private group if you're interested. So we talk about foreign currencies in a private group and other investments like precious metals. But yesterday, after or before, around the same time, I want to say maybe before or after I did that video, I discussed this sovereign wealth fund and how this fund is a fund that many nations already have. Think about Qatar and oil-rich nations. Many of these nations already have a wealth fund, which is a trust that's comprised of many different assets. Like I said a little earlier, silver, gold, palladium, platinum, other metals, oil, tariffs and tax money from brokering deals, rare earth minerals. And remember, a couple of years ago, the United States of America discovered 2.3 billion tons of rare earth minerals in one particular city, which makes us the number one rare earth mineral country in the world, topping China. We have to watch China because China was a world superpower at least 3 times in history. And that's what people don't know. So they were rushing to try to get ahead of America to be a world superpower. They've been doing, that's why they're accumulating gold in record numbers. And in fact, not only were they accumulating gold in record numbers, but in 2023, I did a report where they were talking about central banks all over the world were accumulating gold in record numbers. And then there were secret buyers. They couldn't figure out who these secret buyers of gold were. It came out later in 2023 about the fall of the summer, not about the fall and winter, that it was Chinese bankers, Chinese citizens, Chinese businessmen that were buying up secret large amounts millions of tons, thousands of tons of gold. But it's no surprise to me because when I lived in Ghana in 2014, I stumbled upon a book that said Africa is China's second newest continent. China was trying to become a superpower again. That's why President Trump, during his first administration, was going so hard against China. He was saying you got the Chinese disease that shut down the world in 2020 that was created in the W clinic, Wuhan, right? As well as Ukraine. And you had a lot of CCP, Chinese Communist Party participants who bought up a lot of farmland in America and a lot of land around the military bases. Why? Because they had planned to take over. And in fact, it wasn't just a takeover of the land, a takeover of the resources, but if you follow what was happening geopolitically, you saw that they were taking over land all over the world, quietly buying up properties and infiltrating the infrastructure of countries all over the world, but particularly America. Why is everybody and their mama and daddy so fascinated with America? Because America is where everything began. America is Israel. America is Egypt. America is Morocco. America is Babylon. America is Jordan. America is all of those places in the Bible that were discussed. Everything started here. Even the Garden of Eden is now known to have started or been located in Florida, where I hail. So you saw the CCP infiltrate all different type of jobs in America. I'm going to get to the topic of the day. And in fact, look at ex-CIA Director Mike Pompeo, who was the Secretary of State under President Donald Trump's first administration. He went to the governor's conference on February the 8th, 2020, and he said, I see what all you governors are doing. Come on, somebody. This is leading to where I am today. I see what you governors are doing. You are the leaders of states that are allowing the Communist Chinese Party to infiltrate every segment of society in America. And I have a report card grading each of you governors from A to F of how complicit you have been with the Chinese Communist Party. If you don't believe me, go to YouTube and look at Mike Pompeo speaks at the governor's conference where all governors were situated. February the 8th, 2020. I reported it on that day. I have been paying attention. He said, I've seen how complicit you have been with the Chinese Party, Communist Chinese Party. Now, that's not the same as the People's Republic of China. The People's Republic of China that's the lawful government. Those are the lawful people. Just like the Republic for America is our lawful government, but the United States Incorporated is not lawful. You saw Secretary Mike Pompeo said, you need to do the right thing because you all have allowed Chinese to buy up land, real estate all over the country, to buy up area around the military bases, to buy up farmland, which is harming the people's food. You've allowed them to buy up homes, commercial property. You've allowed them to come under the guise of being students. And they've sold out secrets to the CCP. He said, I'm not even talking about all Chinese immigrants are here. I'm talking about the ones that are here, both legally and illegally, that you've allowed governors to come and infiltrate our infrastructure. He said they've come in as students, healthcare workers, teachers, doctors, lawyers, judges, attorneys, CEOs, bankers, corporate leaders. They're in research and development. They're experimenting on humans here. They've infiltrated the police departments. Come on, somebody, the governments. And I have a report on how much you've allowed this to happen. I'm telling you, Mike Pompeo said on February the 8th, 2020, to do the right thing. He knew what we knew, that they had been determined to come over and take over America. He spoke to the governors and said, if you don't do the right thing, we know who you are and where you are. Well, the next month you had the unaliving of George Floyd. We don't know if it was staged. Was it AI? Was it not? Because when I was trying to tell people, keep your emotions in check, they were like, oh, how can you be a Black woman saying that you don't know if this is real or not? I was like, whether it's real or not, that doesn't give you a license to bombard businesses and tear them up and tear up ATM machines just because they don't have a Black Lives Matter sign in their window, which a lot of people did, protested all over the country. And you had people coming from all over the country to key blue cities and blue states protesting the unaliving of George Floyd, which all of a sudden he had a cousin that looked just like him that he said was his friend. What did he say? Was his play cousin or his play brother? Well, now that we have AI and people are waking up to Hollywood productions, they're like, well, we don't know if that was real or not. But you had the unaliving of George Floyd in 2020. You had the unaliving of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, where I was living. And you had all these protests funded by George Soros and other billionaires that were funding Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Until Freedom, the No Effing Around Coalition, a militia, who were protesting all over. And it got so bad that the National Guard and police both had to be released onto our lands. President Trump knew what was coming. He knew that they were going to have protests. They were going to stage some type of false flag event, cause protests and cause mayhem. And they released the sickness that eventually shut down the world. Y'all know what I'm talking about, 2020. I see Cleveland, Ohio is back in the house, South Carolina. So it makes sense as to why Mike Pompeo told the governors, do the right thing. I see what y'all doing, he said. You governors are allowing things. He said that February and in March, the whole world was shut down. And people were saying, defund the police. And we get it because a lot of police officers are militia, MS-13 gang members, undocumented immigrants. Come on, somebody. And people who don't have Americans' best interests at heart. I'm going to get to it in a minute. But what President Trump said then at the time was, we can't shut down the police right now. He said we have to weed out the bad apples, retrain people. He said, I have something in mind that I'm doing, but you can't defund the police when there's chaos all over the world and all over the country, because there weren't just protests in America. There were protests all over the world as people were crying that President Donald Trump was a racist because he said he has a problem with the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party of China. And he had a problem with these sicknesses being released in America and the world. So you had protests all over the world. So they were trying to control these protesters who were running roughshod, because these protesters were infiltrated by Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and Until Freedom, which were funded by George Soros and other billionaires and Illuminati entities that were the same ones that were funding the Democratic Party. How do I know? Because when you donate to Black Lives Matter or Antifa, you went through Act Blue, which is the same place that you donated to fund the Democratic Party. And Black Lives Matter even told us on their website, they don't care about nuclear families, but people bought into the idea that they really cared about the unaliving of men classified as Black. So they would tear up cities, buildings, tear up people's lawns, steal from stores, cause chaos, fight in the middle of the street, spit at police officers and National Guard, throw bombs, makeshift bombs. I know because I filmed it while I was in Louisville, Kentucky. You might still be able to find it on my Facebook page. They didn't even realize that they were being puppets. that were being used by Black Lives Matter and Antifa, and that these people were militants that were funded by deep state controllers, and these localized grassroots protesters were directed by Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They didn't know, they didn't have their best interests at heart, but eventually President Donald Trump said, we can't defund the police right now. We have to weed out the bad apples. We have to retrain people. And instead of sending policy enforcers or police officers who are militarized into certain situations, we need to send counselors, social workers, emergency care workers like EMT, people who know how to deal with people and not people who are trying to shoot on command. So President Trump said we got to weed out the bad apples and retrain people. But he knew that if they had defunded the police right then in 2020, when everything was chaotic and we had the world shut down and we had curfews and people were breaking curfew and people were committing crimes and using it as an opportunity to steal and break in stores and tear up ATM machines and go on certain people's lawns and set up shop and harm a lot of politicians who were actually not on the blue liberal side, but they were on the conservative side, saying, hold on, let us look at everything before we take to the streets or before we pass judgment. Trump said, hold on. You know why? Because the CCP had plans that if you had defunded the police at that time, they were going to bring in their militarized military that is highly trained beyond what people were ready to deal with. President Trump knew that, so he said, hold off. Fast forward 6 years, now we're at that time where you can look all across Google and wherever else you look and type in police departments are being downsized all across America. One of the reasons why police departments are being downsized is because the republic, our lawful government, has been restored. Thank you for 340 people being in chat. Our republic, our lawful government, is being restored. The unlawful, illegal, unconstitutional United States Incorporated had policy enforcers known as police officers that enforce policy, statutes, codes, legalities of the United States Incorporated deep state unlawful unconstitutional entity that was incorporated in 1871 as a nonprofit religious organization. Well, it is defunct. It is bankrupt and insolvent. And there was a report that came out September 2025 by the United States Treasury Department that says that the United States Incorporated cannot pay their debts. They're insolvent. This is why we had a government shutdown in 2025. And this is why we're under a partial government shutdown right now, 2026, because the government is being downsized. That's also the reason why Elon Musk was tasked with the job of being over DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, to look at all the government jobs and government money that was supposed to be spent for the people and determine what's lawful and what isn't. And what he found is United States aid, money that was going abroad that was supposed to help other nations, was lining the pocket of politicians. And he found that most of the government workers here were working for the United States Incorporated and their unlawful policies. And if we, the people, weren't agreeing with their policies, they would sic their policy enforcers, known as police officers, on us, handcuff us off into courts where the attorneys who considered us dead would speak mostly against us on behalf of the deep state in their blue and black outfits, because blue represents the law of the waters, maritime and admiralty law, and black represents death because they all considered us dead, which is why you have to hire an attorney who attorney for you or speak on your behalf, because they consider us all dead at sea and lost and dead at sea, or minors who can't speak for themselves. And when you're hauled off into their courtrooms, their judges in their black robes were performing funerals and rituals, which is why they say, all rise. Well, now we're in an era where all that is being dismantled. So let me scale back just a little bit. Because we talked about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party that had infiltrated America. They weren't the only ones. You had Ukrainian mafia, you had CCP, you had other entities from abroad here in America buying up land. In fact, somebody from Cleveland, Ohio was in the comment section. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Look up who owns downtown Cleveland. While every neighborhood in downtown Cleveland just about is struggling from the drug epidemic and industries leaving Cleveland, going abroad to China and other places, but downtown Cleveland had a resurgence because it's owned by the Ukrainian mafia. And what about Louisville, Kentucky, where I raised my children? You had the PNC building in the complex that was seized by FBI workers around 2020, right around that COVID time, because it was discovered that money was laundered through the PNC Bank and that whole complex downtown, and it was controlled and owned by the CCP and part of it by the Ukrainian mafia. This is why President Trump said illegal immigration is harming America and Americans. You have whole complexes, corporations, banks, lands, farmlands controlled by people who are not even American. And you have militarized police officers or policy enforcers that are not even from these lands. Come on, somebody. How is that right? And you have them influencing politicians, working in highest levels of government as congressmen and women, presidents. Et al. I appreciate you saying that, Faith Ministry. The Ukrainian mafia owns the city of Cleveland Incorporated. Thank you. There are too many people that are not from here. They are foreign nationals that are buying up our lands. And according to T. Rose is saying most of or many of them are from China and India. Why? In fact, 80 to 90% of motels here in America, look it up, are owned by Indians. I'm not talking about indigenous Americans. I'm talking about Indians from East India, from Asia, the continent. 80 to 90% of the motels here are owned. Why is that? Let's look at what percentage. Well, I guess it depends on who you check with, because when I checked last, they said 80 to 90%, but here's one statistic that says 60 to 70%. Indian Americans. Are you Indian American or are you Indians, a foreign national on the lands of America who has a United States citizenship? And if you have a United States citizenship, you're not an American. You're chattel property of the United States Incorporated that granted you the privilege, not the right, the privilege of citizenship. Let's get it right. They're Indian foreign nationals, many of whom who have a United States citizenship. They'll say, I pay my taxes. You pay your taxes to your Lord, to the entity that granted you citizenship. That is an unlawful, illegal, treasonous entity on our lands, who luckily have been dismantled. They own roughly 60% of all motels in the United States and up to 40% of the entire United States hotel industry. About 70% of these Indian-owned properties belong to families originally from Gujarat, many of whom share the last name Patel. Their extensive presence in the United States lodging industry is managed largely by the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, which represents tens of thousands of hotel owners nationwide. Why? They're not Americans. I'm not even going to tell you what the definition of American is, because I've told you thousands of times. Look up on your own 1828 Webster's definition of American. I will tell you, the copper-colored races discovered by Europeans, but now applied to Europeans. Everybody else is a United States citizen, which is chattel property of the United States Incorporated that had nothing to do with our lawful government, the Republic. The United States Incorporated grants citizenship status, DACA status, and other statuses that are unlawful and only beholden to their policy, statutes, and codes. You pay taxes to your overlord or your owner who calls you their citizens or United States chattel property. The Republic grants rights, not privileges, rights to the American nationals on the lands. So why is it that Indians from one family, the Patel family, and one city in East Asia own motels in America, as well as convenience stores and gas stations? I'm just getting started. So this could be one of the reasons why on that pyramid that I've shown you many, many times, Indians are at the very top. Here in America, when you look at economic stratification and what that looks like and how different racial, I would say, nationals are doing here in our country, the East Indians are at the top. So it's not just because they own motels, hotels, convenience stores, and gas stations, but it's also because they're here on H-1B visas. Let's see, what is it? We'll look at H-1B visas, but first, I just have this inkling to show you, if I can find it. I thought I had put it up on, I guess I didn't put it up. I meant to put it in my posts of how all these other people are doing over Americans. They're not only doing well over Americans, they're even doing better than United States citizens. What I mean by United States citizens is, I mean, they're doing better than the European Americans. So President Trump said, wait, all this illegal stuff that's happening is harming America. It's harming the job industry. It's harming Americans' resources because all this money was given to the immigrants that were allowed to come here. You had a lot of people that were delivering their children here that were not from America. They were just flying in here or in their second or third trimester, have a baby here, which means somebody got to pay for that baby. It wasn't them. And then the baby, because it was born on the land, automatically became a citizen through what's called birthright citizenship. And then the parents would get resources and privileges, not rights, privileges through the child that anchored them in America. That's why they call them anchor babies. President Trump is going against now birthright citizenship, because let me tell you something. Birthright citizenship, first of all, had nothing to do with immigrants. Birthright citizenship after the Civil War was allegedly added to the Constitution for children of African American slaves. That's it. But we come to find out that the 14th Amendment wasn't even ratified. That means it wasn't even lawfully added to Constitution. And you got to ask yourself, what Constitution was it added to anyway? The Constitution of the United States Incorporated, the unlawful treasonous organization. That's a non-profit religious organization registered in 1871 in Delaware. Or were they trying to add it to the Constitution for the Republic? Because the Republic is for we the people, and we the people are Americans. So Americans and indigenous peoples, or the copper-colored races encountered by Europeans, can't be citizens. You're either a national or you're a slave to the United States Incorporated. Now, they were prisoners of war of the corporation. But let's play along. The 14th Amendment wasn't for the immigrants. So attorneys were using the 14th Amendment to allow people who are not from America and foreign nationals to deliver their babies here and get privileges like government aid, like food stamps, EBT, temporary assistance to needy family, cash money. And we're talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars per person, which is why men from other countries, Middle East and African nations, who it's a part of their belief system to have many wives, practice polygyny. They would bring all their wives here and let each of their wives come and have all these babies on American soil all over America, and therefore be classified as citizens. But in America, we don't practice or believe in polygyny. Now, the Mormons can practice it, and I'm trying to understand why they can do it in Utah and everybody else can't. Because, I mean, if it's lawful for someone, it should be lawful for all. Doesn't matter to me. But ideally and legally, we don't recognize multiple wives. So what will happen is these men that will bring their wives here, only the one that have a legal contract was recognized, but all these other women and hundreds of babies or tens of babies and hundreds of babies, thousands of babies when you consider all over the world that come here, and hundreds of thousands that they deliver here. Now, the mother, who is not a legal wife, is classified as a single baby's mother, a single baby mama. A baby mama in Ebonics terms. She was just a baby mama. So a baby mama or a single woman with children gets Section 8, food stamps, housing, jobs, medical care, all of that. Who's paying for it? Meanwhile, you have veterans who fought for this nation all across the globe and fought for the United States Incorporated, who are on the street homeless. This is why the FBI raided banks and other places that were supposed to be giving benefits to our veterans that were hoarding the money, and the FBI arrested those people. Look at my video called FBI Raids, because they weren't giving the money to the veterans. It's egregious. It's egregious. Thank you for almost 500 people being in the chat. So look at this pyramid. How is it that Indians, East Indians from India, this is on average the median household income for East Indians, 100,000. This is the average. That means what they did is they look at the high end of how much they earn and the low end, and they looked at the average, the middle range. Filipinos make 83,000 per household. This is the median, the average. We're not even going to talk about the high end. Taiwanese, 82,500. Sri Lankans, 74,600 here in America. Japanese, 72,300 here in America. Malaysians, 70,300 here in America. Chinese, 69,100 on average in the household. Pakistani Americans, 66,200. White Americans, 59,900. Look at all the people making all the money above Americans or people, citizens classified as white here. Koreans, 59,200. Indonesians, 57,500. The average American, 56,200 in the average household income. Thai people, 55,000. Bangladeshi, people from the Bangladesh, 50,000 on average per household. Nepalese, bringing in 43,500. Hispanic / Latino, 43,000. And African Americans, by the way, that categorization is the categorization of meats and produce, bring on average $35,000 in a household. And we say it's because we don't have a marriage culture and we don't have high education or higher education. And we're saying, a lot of people say, well, education matters, marriage matters, but how about giving government benefits matters? Given legal status matters. Being allowed to own hotels and motels and convenience stores and gas stations and taking over and monopolizing the hair industry. How about that matters? And how about being bankers and politicians? How about that is what matters in America? So they were using the 14th Amendment to anchor their babies here and get all these benefits. Meanwhile, the parents were getting benefits through the children. So you didn't just have birthright citizenship on the line because of all these foreign nationals coming over here. You have the Native Americans that were here. But native born doesn't mean you're a natural born. Doesn't mean you sprung from the soil. You might have been born here, but your peoples. Speaking of the Native Americans that are in the TPs, many of them have been mistreated, but they're Mongoloid. They're from Asia. They crossed the Bering Strait. They're not the indigenous people here. Some of them married the indigenous people here, but a lot of them tried to keep the indigenous copper-colored races known as Negroes, Blacks, Coloreds, and African Americans out of the benefits and off the reservations because they were given benefits and privileges from the United States Incorporated, but they were also targeted by the United States Incorporated, which is why they were given alcohol and left out of some of the jobs. See how the government will use certain people to usurp and supplant the place of the original American, give them benefits, say you can get a casino, you get a casino, you get a casino, you get money, you get land. Just keep out the Black folks who through the government policies and Walter Plecker and them and the Census Bureau, whose they changed the classification from indigenous Indians to Black, to colored, to Negro, and African American. They had James Brown to sing a song, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. Because before then, indigenous people refused to be called Black. I'm old enough to remember when my aunties and uncles said, do not call yourself Black. There is nothing benevolent about Black. Black means you're dead and you have no legal standing. You have no standing in law. They knew it. But when you come out with, when you tell your puppeteer, your puppet to sing a song, God bless James Brown. I mean, we love the music. People in the community love his music. But when you sell out your soul, you got to do what they tell you to do. Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. So you have people talking about their Black and Black power, not realizing it's a standing in law. This is why when these foreign nationals come here, their status, they'll tell you it's white. They'll say, I'm not Black. I don't care if they're brown, burnt, yellow. They will say I'm white because they knew their status was not the same as the indigenous peoples here in America. And they told me, as someone who worked in higher education at many colleges, we were told not to go around Black people, to stay out of neighborhoods, don't talk to them, not go around them. What we were briefed before we came to America. A lot of them were. But they classify themselves as white. And they get benefits. And they live well for the most part. And I'm going to keep showing this pyramid until we get a clear understanding of why we have to make sure America and Americans come first. These people have a homeland to go to. Did you notice that? At least I don't see not a one of these places here on this pyramid is in the middle of war right now. Not a one of them are in danger for their lives right now. I mean, it could be just me. India, the Philippines, Taiwanese, Sri Lanka, Japan, Malaysia, China, Pakistan, Korea, Indonesia, Taiwan, the Taiwanese people, Bangladesh, wherever that is. I think that's in Asia, Nepal. Now, Hispanic Latino, the ones I can see that are under a lot of financial hardship would be the Cubans. The brown here, the wealthy ones that said, I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh, they're anchored here in America. And I'm trying to figure out why the so-called white Cubans that are running Miami and Florida won't go back home to help their people. With all the money and the wealth they got, why won't you help Cuba right now that's struggling? Why you here enjoying the land and the milk and the honey from the land? Why aren't you going back home? And now some of them are turning on President Donald Trump because he has sanctions against the leader there in Cuba, trying to force him to stand down. All the people that are here waving their flags and burning our flag and speaking against the president of the United States of America, why are they not burning their flag, or yelling and screaming and protesting in their countries? I'm just asking the question. But is there a war going in any Hispanic nations? I don't know. Maybe you guys had somebody come on my platform and say, well, in Venezuela, we had drugs and guns. And I said, we have that in America too. But somehow y'all make it here. And while we're the underclass, there's no country calling out to Americans saying, come here, y'all got drugs and guns and violence. And the police officers are disproportionately arresting Black Americans who are the indigenous people. Come to our country. Nobody in the world. But we're at the bottom. And Americans, the white Americans, they're not even in the middle. Okay, they got several nations above them. I'm just saying. So let's get to President Donald Trump saying illegal immigration is harming America. Because now that we're almost at 500, he said they're cowards. That's why they won't go back. The YT Cubans are the reason Cuba is the way it is. They came from Spain as Sephardic lineage. Look them up. Thank you, a Qatarian. Wow. But they can wave their flags here proudly. I wish I would wave the American flag on somebody else's land. I wouldn't do it out of respect for the people. Waving their flags, speaking against they won't go speak against their presidents and prime ministers. They won't call him names and say no kings. You got drug cartel all across South America. You got war in Somalia. You got war, and not even these people that are on the pyramid here making all this money. There's no war in their nations, okay, that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will stand corrected. But they're not, when you think of Somalians and some of the other ones that were refugees, that were seeking refugee status, temporary refugee status, making a whole lot of money, getting billions of dollars, according to President Donald Trump, saying they need billions of dollars for these daycare centers and places that don't even exist. We're trying to figure out how they don't work, why they won't mesh in with the people, why they won't learn the language, but they're driving nice cars, got nice cell phones, got malls and businesses. How is that happening? Billions of dollars they've been getting from America. Why don't you? Why haven't they taken to their country to go back and clean it up? Because it's interesting that when President Donald Trump called out what was going on in Missouri and other places with a lot of the Somali immigrants stealing money, billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, and taking a lot of money, having the government to pay for each of their children that are here and funding their businesses, their lifestyles, giving them Section 8 welfare and food stamps, while they were saying that he was wrong for this. And Ilhan Omar, who people are saying is actually not who she says she is, and he even says she married her brother in order to become a United States citizen. This is bizarre. Why were they so comfortable speaking against President Donald Trump, but you're not speaking against what's happening in your homeland? Well, now President Donald Trump is saying it's even safe there. Your economy might have some hardships, but you can go back there since you're such a hard worker and you want to remind Americans that you work harder than Americans, therefore you should be allowed to stay here. Then use your grit, your grunt, your hard work ethic to build up your nation. And use that energy that you're using to speak against President Donald Trump and the Trump administration and ICE to clean up your country. It's interesting how we've allowed this to happen. But, some of us were prisoners of war. And the rest of us were told, don't speak against immigrants. You're a racist. Don't speak against allowing them to stay here. You have issues with immigrants. And they're just here trying to seek a better way for themselves. So you had birthright citizenship, you had DACA. Let's talk about DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals. A lot of people arrived here as children. They were either sent, dropped off, or birthed here. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, this is about the police department. Well, we'll get to that next. But I have to show you what DACA stands for. Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals is a United States federal immigration policy that protects eligible undocumented immigrants who were brought to the United States as children. It protects them from deportation and allows them to apply for renewable work permits. I want you to see that. I'll share the screen. You have a lot of undocumented people here who are now saying it's not fair that they have to give up their jobs, even though this was supposed to be a temporary status. It protects eligible undocumented immigrants who are, but how them? Because deferred means delayed action. Maybe people don't understand vocabulary. It's put off for a certain time that you won't be deported. United States federal immigration policy. That's why Trump said illegal immigration policies harm Americans, because a lot of the DACA children that are here never got United States citizenship status. They thought they were protected forever. They never married a United States immigrant, a United States citizen or an American, some of them. They just kept reapplying for their work permits. And now that they're adults, they're saying, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be protected and not deported, protected from deportation. Deferred means delayed, put off for a time. It's a temporary protection that was actually granted by President Obama in 2012. Let me tell you how it works. It's temporary relief. Temporary is the antithesis of, and the antonym or the opposite of permanent. So a lot of people may not have studied antonyms. It's not synonymous. Temporary is not a synonym. Let's do 6th grade language arts. Temporary is not a synonym or synonymous to permanent. It's the antithesis or the opposite. It's an antonym. Temporary, short term. Permanent, forever. Temporary relief. DACA does not grant lawful permanent residency at all, nor does it grant official legal status. Instead, it serves as a prosecutor them home. They use their discretional authority and privilege to let them stay here for a particular time, and now it's time for them to go home. So don't let people tell you that you're racist for saying that people that are undocumented here has to go home. It's in the policy of the United States Incorporated that brought them here. Why are they blaming Donald Trump or Americans? Take it up with your parents who brought you here or sent you here or had you here. Whether it was through birthright citizenship or sent you here, well, however. To qualify for DACA, applicants had to meet several specifications. They had to arrive here before they were 16, have continuously reside in the United States since June 15, 2007, have unlawful immigration status. Wow. This is how you're eligible. Have unlawful immigration status as of June 15, 2012. Let me take a drink of coffee because maybe I need a little caffeine to wake me up. I'm not reading this correctly. I know. Let me read some caffeine. Drink some caffeine. Let it go through my blood for a little bit. because I need to wake up. I didn't just read you had to have unlawful immigration status as of June 15, 2012. I didn't read that. Maybe it's my eyes. Hold on. Let me see. Must have had no lawful immigration. No lawful immigration status. They're here illegally. Am I reading that? Somebody help me in the comment section. No lawful immigration. They could not have been a lawful immigrant as of June 15, 2012. Are currently in school, have graduated from high school, obtained a GED, or are honorably discharged veterans, have not been convicted of a felony, significant misdemeanor, or significant misdemeanor, which means you could have an insignificant misdemeanor, or they couldn't have multiple misdemeanors. Oh, wow. DACA is an administrative policy and does not provide a direct pathway to United States citizenship. Because of ongoing legal challenges in federal courts, the Department of Homeland Security continues to process and grant renewal requests, but cannot process initial first-time DACA recipients or requests. Again, DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. These are foreign nationals who sent their children here. Maybe to go to school, maybe to work. I don't know why they sent them here. But guess what a lot of these undocumented students have done? Now that some of them are adults, they have taken up a badge and a gun and they're police officers. Let me know how you think about that. June 15, 2012, no lawful immigration status. I thought I was reading it incorrectly. You said bring the tea. So this is what's happening right now today as of June 2026. DACA recipient police officers are experiencing severe employment insecurity, and they're panicking. Police officers, many of them are panicking because there's a significant delay in federal renewal processes. They can't renew their work permit as undocumented foreign nationals. This is forcing many of them to take unpaid leave and surrender their badges and guns. Now, how is it that a foreign national can have a gun and a badge in the United States of America, this great nation, and tell you that you're breaking a law? How is it that they can wear blue and black and police your neighborhoods? I don't care if you classic, don't matter if you're black or white. Sing to me, Michael Jackson. How is it that they can haul you off in court, handcuff you, and tell you breaking any law when they've broken the law and they're here unlawfully? Because it doesn't matter what the United States Incorporated allows you to do, or what statutes, codes, or policies they allow for you to do or have to come over here undocumented and unlawfully. If it's not according to the Republic, it's unlawful. You committed a crime and you overstayed your time here, which is even a crime to the United States Incorporated. But you know what? They're using their discretion, their authority now to say, you got to go home. Foreign nationals taking up a badge and telling Americans that we're breaking the law. Whose law exactly? Thank you, Faith Ministry. And President Donald Trump, I agree, Sister Belinda, is exposing it all. It's unreal. President Trump is on a roll in 2026. Oh my, it's horrible. It's egregious. How? We're going to bring the tea today. Don't let people tell you you should feel guilty. Oh, they've been here for a long time. They're paying taxes. Yeah, you're paying tribute to the unlawful, treasonous United States Incorporated, they're erroneously and unlawfully brought you to our lands. You're paying tribute for the privilege of being here that they granted you, which is not the same thing as a right. Let's talk about privileges and rights. A privilege is a benefit that was given to the citizens or the slaves of the corporation. It is not something that is granted by the republic to its lawful nationals that have birthright and blood right claims to the land. I'm going to break it down because I am an indigenous woman. I am we the people that we've been talking about. The indigenous people wrote the Constitution for the republic, we the people. So I have an understanding or overstanding that a lot of people just didn't have, because they're so used to calling themselves a United States citizen. A citizen is property, chattel property of the corporation called the United States Incorporated. That's why through motu proprio, the letter that Pope Francis wrote to Obama in 2014, he said, it has been our policy as the corporation to enslave African Americans after the Civil War so they can pay off our debt. Then it was our policy to enslave everybody to pay off our debt, the United States Incorporated. We considered them chattel property to pay off our debts. How do you pay off your debt? Taxes. So you can talk about paying taxes all day long. It doesn't matter to Americans or legal citizens either. Legal citizens mean United States Incorporated. Make sure your paperwork was legal. Has nothing to do with the republic though. But let's use the semantics, everybody. You could be even legal immigrants are saying, wait a minute. The illegal ones got away with stuff we didn't get away with. But here's the thing about even some of the legal immigrants, a lot of them came over here illegally too, but then they sought asylum. And while they were here, whether they were sent by DACA, deferred action against children, or they had birthright citizenship because their parents delivered them here, or they came over here through visas, H-1 visas, work visas, tourism visas, spousal visas, or a fiance visa. A lot of them came here on visa status, overstayed their visa. Then while they were here, they applied for a green card. Instead of going back home, they stayed here while the visa was expired, applied for a green card, or they sought asylum and just filled out some paperwork saying, I'm too scared to go back home, or the economy is unstable back home. And the liberal people and the unlawful people that were calling themselves the government allowed them to stay here, overstay their visas, and wait on their green card. This is why President Trump is coming against the change of status. They would be here unlawfully, undocumented, overstayed their visa, apply for asylum or for a green card. That's a change of status. And just wait and be allowed to work and get a work permit, even though they weren't a United States citizen. Then when the green card was processed and it was given to them, all of a sudden they became legal. Don't play with us. Now, the whole change of status is brought under question. If you want to change your status, you overstayed your visa, you got to go back home to your lands and apply for the green card there. So now attorneys are panicking. Judges are panicking because they allowed illegal immigrants to remain in our country by using the 14th Amendment, saying, well, if they were born here, they have birthright citizenship status, and we're going to bring up the 14th Amendment that really wasn't even for them. It was for children of African-American slaves after the Civil War. And that's it. And it was not ratified. Therefore, it's unconstitutional. Don't matter how you try to get around it. They broke the law of the land. We don't care about maritime law, law of the water, admiralty law. Again, which is why they all wear black or blue. And even told you, if you want a job, make sure you wear black or blue in corporate America. Admiralty law, America, we don't care about that. What's the law of the land? Which that's why our sheriffs wear brown. They're the only ones who can enforce the law. That's why they wear brown or green. Brown like the earth, green like the grass. That's all we care about. The law of the land. the republic, Constitution for our republic. So now if you do a change of status, you got to go back home to your country. And what President Trump is saying is if you overstayed your visa or you're doing a change of status, you're undocumented, you go back home, you apply there, and if you are granted permission to come back, then you can enter legally. But he's saying that you got to have a lot of money. Many people have to come back with a gold card. America's not the only one. Other countries are tightening up their immigration. You know why? Because when you think about economically, these countries can't sustain all these people flooding their borders. And on a higher level, this universal high income that I spoke of in the beginning of this podcast, that's going to come from the sovereign wealth fund, is for nationals of your land. You can't be a foreign national in somebody else's land. You can't have citizenship status on somebody else's land because you're still a foreign national. You're not an American. You're not even a legal American. You're a United States citizen, chattel property of a corporation. But as a foreign national, and they'll tell you, I'm just like we showed you the pyramid, Indian American, Filipino American, this American. Do you see what's in front of American? That's what you are. And a United States citizen. So in order to access your universal high income and your sovereign wealth fund, you have to be in your homeland. Which if they didn't see it as their homeland, they wouldn't put that ethnicity, that nationality before American. And they wouldn't be sending their money back to their homeland to build up mansions, businesses, companies, et cetera, et cetera. 30 to 40% of some of these places' GDP is from American dollars. Their economy is being sustained by American dollars while we're struggling. But I digress. So President Trump is saying, if you want to do a change of status, you got to be in your own homeland. And he also said, no other place in the world allows for birthright citizenship. You can't fly to China and drop off a baby or give birth to a baby and all of a sudden your child becomes a Chinese. Or have privileges, or get a Chinese passport, or vote. No. Or you can't do it in Africa and any other African nation. No place in the world. Only here in the land flowing with milk and honey. But what's going on with DACA right now is the deferred action for childhood arrivals is that we've discovered that many of them became police officers, policy enforcers. And they're forced to take early retirement, go home with no pay, unpaid leave, and they're forced to give up their guns and their badges. Multiple police officers who are deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA recipients, specifically in the Los Angeles Police Department, but other places as well, have been forced to turn in their badges and guns. This occurred because federal processing backlogs caused their work authorization to expire, leaving them on paid leave. Why DACA officers are losing their badges? States like California passed laws allowing non-United States citizens to become peace officers, provided they have legal authorization to work in the United States. However, because DACA deferred action for childhood arrivals of foreign nationals does not confer permanent legal residency, recipients must therefore renew their work permits every 2 years. Recently, systemic processing backlogs with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, have delayed these renewals by months. Under federal and local labor laws, a police department must immediately suspend an officer or place them on unpaid leave once their employment authorization lapses. Because of this bureaucratic holdup, several affected officers in the LAPD had to surrender their service weapons and badges until their federal paperwork is cleared. For tips on how to understand this issue from the perspective of public safety and the officers' daily contributions, you can look up these various articles. And they'll tell you something like, oh, this is going to cause an issue with our protection here in America because police officers are being forced to give up their badges and their guns. This is egregious. They paid their taxes, but your time is up. And deferred action means delayed action to be deported. There's a new sheriff in town, President Donald Jontavius Trump, also known as 47. 47 President of the United States Incorporated has said their time is up. They got to go home. How is it that you cannot be from America and tell anybody anything about how to live their lives here in America? You know, I didn't even know that they were undocumented. Many of them are undocumented workers, but I did know that a lot of the police departments were infiltrated by MS-13 gang members that came from abroad. I should have known it was the same thing. And yet it kind of reminds me of, how is it that all of these legal or illegal immigrants are at places like Walmart checking Americans' bags to see if you stole something? Excuse me, ma'am and sir. This is my land. You don't have the right to guard what I do and where I shop and whether or not something in my bag is lawful or unlawful, because I want to check your immigration status to see if you here lawfully in America. The greeters. You can't speak out against it because you're being racist. No, we're speaking out. We gonna call it out today because it's not fair. And why there are so many illegal immigrants here that are taking up jobs, I've just started. Many of them can't even speak the language. And they don't care to learn English, and they don't care to assimilate either. I'm talking about illegal immigrants from all over different lands that are here in America. But they'll hold up their phone, you know, to transcribe what they're saying or whatever, or so you can hear it in English, like they speak it in their language. Where in the world can you go where it's okay for you to go in the country and not try to be peaceful or try to blend in or assimilate as much as possible and to honor and respect the culture and at least learn some key words in their language? And over time, you want to learn the language, period, in order to be honored and respected as somebody on somebody else's land in their territory. Where else in the world can you go and have a badge and a gun and police their people? While there are no numbers for how many DACA workers are working in the police departments in some states, 25% or more are becoming police officers. That's just police officers. So I said, let me look up healthcare. 27,000 to 30,000 DACA recipients work in healthcare. Remember, this is deferred action for childhood arrivals. They're not nationals. 27,000 to 30,000 DACA recipients work in healthcare. They work in roles serving, including hundreds of medical students, residents. You know how you become a RA or resident doctor? Many are medical students, residents, or practicing physicians. But the exact number of fully licensed physicians is not continuously updated. Why not? Why aren't they updating how many people, how many physicians here are undocumented, foreign nationals? But according to some of the latest statistics, 25 to 28% of physicians here in America are immigrants. So we know there's a great percentage of them that are undocumented, meaning that they're illegal. But you got more than a quarter of all healthcare, all physicians, not healthcare workers, a quarter of our physicians here, 25 to 28%, nearly 30%, a quarter to almost a third, between 25 to 28% physicians are immigrants, foreign nationals. They could be here illegally, but they're not from these lands. This equates to over 250,000 foreign-born doctors in America. So 250,000 among 950,000 physicians are immigrant-born. Why? How, Sway? So you're a doctor from somewhere else, and you're practicing, not perfecting, practicing medicine on Americans. Maybe that's why a lot of people don't trust the medical industry, because we know, look, I work for the University of Louisville Medical School. There was an issue with what's called bedside manner in the healthcare industry. We had to do a whole class on bedside manner because a lot of the medical students did not know how to treat Americans. They didn't really care because they're not from here. They don't have the culture. They didn't grow up in your neighborhoods. Some of them barely spoke the language. They were here for money. Not because how can they care about somebody that didn't come from their home? How can they care about people that's not part of their tribe? I mean, they could care on a certain level. Somebody tell me what the Hippocratic Oath is, because just hypocrite kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. But a lot of them, even though they understood and overstood biochemistry, histology, physiology, gross anatomy, and all those things, I know that because I put together summer programs, the Summer Medical, Dental, and Education Program, the MCAT Medical College Admissions Test, and the dental program, Dental Admissions Test. All of these programs were programs for undergrad students to train them to become to get into medical school and become doctors. And then I taught the verbal reasoning component of the medical college admissions test. And then I put together summer programs for medical and dental students. And I was an academic counselor for medical students. I did professional development for medical and dental students, help them with their resumes to get into residencies, help them by giving them tutors and creating education programs so they can pass the USMLE step 1 and step 2. I did a lot at the medical. I created the first, and as far as I know to date, the only symposium bringing back doctors on our campus to teach medical and dental students and the community in Louisville, Kentucky, how they can get rid of disparities, medical and dental disparities that's within certain communities. Because you have medical and dental disparities in a so-called Black community, the indigenous people here, their population, and with rural white students, because they were also underrepresented in medicine, didn't trust medical doctors, the rural white students. So I created a symposium where we brought back doctors and dentists, mainly doctors who were instructed at the University of Louisville, Kentucky Medical School. They either graduated in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I got some from 50s, 60s, graduated 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s to celebrate the Board versus Board of Education 50th anniversary. And they talked about how they worked to eliminate health disparities, issues where Black people classified as Black, didn't have access to medical care, or they just didn't trust doctor because of the Tuskegee experiment and other experimentations that was done on melanated people, or they knew that their blood was taken more than everybody else's blood because they were doing nefarious things with the blood, or they knew that their genetics were taken, or they knew that in a Black community, which they are the indigenous Americans here, their wombs were taken out more than any other wombs, and they did all these practicing of medicine. So you have people like, I'm not going to the doctor. They're doing hysterectomies on Black women in massive numbers and taking the genetics. Henrietta Lacks wasn't the only one they were taking DNA from. And they had abortion clinics in our community so that they can take the bodies and the limbs of our babies to put in their medicine. And what's that one that helps them, their melatonin that helps them sleep? to eat it and drink it, to create their sunscreen, et cetera, et cetera. So you have people classified as Black and other so-called indigenous populations. I'm not trusting doctors. So at the medical school, they were like, why are they not trusting? Well, we know because of all these things, but there was also an outcry in Louisville, Kentucky, and other places because you had to study benchmark institutions and research other communities and other places in America where people in the Black community and rural white poor students and people in their community said, we don't trust doctors and they don't know how to treat us. They talk to us badly. They're cold. They're mean. They're nasty. They grab us. They force us to lay on our back when we have babies, when the indigenous way is to squat. They got long fingernails. They don't care to cut their fingernails because they really don't know how we get down in America or the indigenous people. Foreign nationals are physicians? You mean they can't serve in their own countries? How is it that you can become a doctor in America and be a foreign national and you could be at the top of the pyramid bringing in all this money but not help your own people in your own country? That's an issue. 27,000 to 30,000 DACA recipients work in healthcare. 28% to 25 to 28% of physicians in America are immigrants, meaning they are foreign nationals from other countries. So President Trump is cracking down on all this. Physicians are now starting to worry because it's all coming out that some of them are DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals, that graduated from high school, went on to college, went on to medical school, and never changed their status to a United States citizen. And the ones that did change their status to United States citizen are still under scrutiny because how did you get that green card? Did you come here illegally or unlawfully? Did you marry an American or United States citizen just to get your green card? Because even those immigrants that are married to United States citizens, their green cards are now under scrutiny. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because when I talk about this, I hear that some people are like, wow, expose it. And then some people are like, there's a problem with her. She's against immigration. No, I'm American first, America first. Charity begins at home. A man that doesn't take care of his own family first is in the Bible considered an infidel, an unbeliever, worse than a pauper. A man that doesn't take care of his family first is an infidel. What is the first law of nature? Self-preservation. President Trump told everybody when he came on, he was about America, making America great again and America first. So if anybody has an issue with that, they need to take it up with their parents who sent them over here, gave birth to them here, because they knew that this was temporary protection. And they also knew that birthright citizenship was not lawful, or else they wouldn't have hired immigration attorneys to help them. Come on, somebody. And who are immigration attorneys? Many of them are immigrants. Some of them are DACA. Undocumented. You know why? Because in America, you could become an attorney, go to law school, pass the British Accredited Registry bar exam, and be an undocumented student. You can go right over to California and go to Stanford University and become an attorney, not even be documented. So let me see what I have here about attorneys. Many states allow DACA recipients to become licensed attorneys. There are no numbers on how many unlawful immigrants, undocumented immigrants that were allowed to become attorneys. And that's something. But many states allow DACA recipients to become licensed attorneys. Let's look it up. Do states allow DACA to become attorneys? And I need to go on because I don't want to be on here too. Listen to this. Well. I done brought a receipt. Do states allow DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals, to become licensed attorneys is what I asked up here? Yes, this is an AI overview. Certain states allow individuals with deferred action for childhood arrivals, DACA, to become licensed attorneys because states regulate the requirements for bar admission and occupational licensing. Rules vary across the country. Several states have explicitly passed laws or issued court rulings allowing qualified DACA recipients to practice law. States that explicitly allow DACA recipients to become licensed attorneys include California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, and others. Other states where DACA recipients have successfully been admitted to the bar include Arizona, Florida, Nevada, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania. Here's important consideration for DACA attorneys: federal hiring limits. DACA state status does not permit employment with the federal government or certain state agencies which require United States citizenship. These people that are attorneys, many of them don't even have a United States citizenship status. Work authorization. DACA recipients must maintain active, valid work permits to be legally employed by law. So what they would do, these deferred action for childhood arrivals, instead of applying for a green card, they would just reapply for their work permits. Those work permits had to remain active. But now President Trump is saying, I don't care if your work permit is active or not. USCIS is using their authority, discretionary authority, to tell you your time is up. Law school resources and financial aid for undocumented students. I told you I worked in higher education. There was money for we had a whole undocumented student offices for students that were not United States citizens to have money, housing, food, academic help, tutoring, all this. Yeah, there were law school. Here's a question: state-specific bar exam requirements for particular locations. You can ask that. DACA renewal resources and timelines. They got all the answers right here. So, but keep in mind, they're not practicing law. They're practicing statutes, codes, policies, legalities of the United States Incorporated. This is why under NASARA and the new golden age into which we entered, attorneys are losing their bar exam, their British accredited registry bar exam, which means they work for the British Crown and not we the people. Anybody that wants to uphold the law, I don't even know if we'll need a lawyer, but they will have to be trained or retrained in constitutional law. They're not constitutional lawyers. So now what you see is attorneys panicking, judges panicking, because they've been operating against the Republic and using clauses and amendments that weren't even ratified to allow undocumented immigrants to stay here and allowing them to remain in the country as they do a change of status to get their green card. They also allowed a lot of the women who got here with their fiancé visas and their spouse visas to turn on their husbands while they're living with their husbands and apply for a Violence Against Women Act application, which is called VAWA. What that is saying, I want to apply for my green card on my own because I'm suffering violence at the hands of my fiance or my husband. Now, I'm not going home. I'm going to stay in the house where he's beat me up, allegedly, and I'm applying for a VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, and he doesn't know anything about it. And I'm going to wait it out because my VAWA application supersedes his green card application. He's my sponsor now. But the VAWA speeds up the green card application process because, the United States government wants to protect women. We understand that. But they'll get a work permit. They get food. They get food stamps. They get medical care, health care, counseling, housing if they want to. If they have an argument and the husband leaves, they can stay in the home and call the police and say, he can't come back because I'm scared, through the Violence Against Women Act. But now it's under scrutiny because now they know it was a loophole that these women from other countries were using in order to stay in our country. Expedites the green card. Let me tell you something. Now they know that it's been abused because now, right before President Donald Trump came back, men started applying for the Violence Against Women Act green card process to expedite the green card. Families start applying for the VAWA, saying, I'm a parent of a United States citizen and I came on a visa to visit, a tourism visa, but all of a sudden I'm scared of my children, so I need to apply for a VAWA. And they were getting those expedited. But it went up by over 100% when Donald Trump, right before he came in, now that he's here, all these applications, not just it's called the Violence Against Women Act, not just women applying for it, men applying for it, children of immigrants applying for it, parents of immigrants applying for it. Let me ask you this one question. If you're getting beat up by your child, what type of parent are you? And why can't you use your visa to go back home? Why do you got to stay in America because you didn't do a good job raising your child and all of a sudden they committed violence against you? Why can't you go back home? Oh, you can't? Because all of a sudden you have a right to stay here. And so the attorneys that were in place were allowing you to stay here because you could apply for a change of status even though your visa had run out, your tourism visa, and you can stay in America and they would grant you a work permit. All this was allowable under all these other administrations. Nowhere else in the world can you get away with this stuff. So look at all the hundreds of thousands and millions of people that are here in America that are here undocumented, illegal, and even the ones that are here legal. How did they get that status? Look at, since President Trump has been the president, within this last year, you had 2 million people that were deported, 1 million self-deported, 1 million self-deported, about 800,000 were sent by the government. And President Trump said, well, if you self-deport, he said initially, I'll give you $1,000 to self-deport. Now he's up the ante and said, I'll give you $2,600 as an incentive to leave this country. I'll book the flight, I'll pay for the flight, and I'll give you $2,600 because $2,600 USD in any country is doing pretty well. It should be able to hold you over. And based on what we see here of the many people that are here in America, they got the money to go home if they really wanted to. They just think they have a right. And entitlement? Oh, I have a right to be here. No, baby, rights are afforded to nationals, not citizens, not illegals, not undocumented people. If you want rights, you go back to your homeland. That's where rights are afforded. That's where you're a national. That's where you're sovereign. So it looked like the Indians at 100,500 should be able to make it back in India. The Filipinos at 83,000 should be able to make it. The Taiwanese at 82,500. That's what they're bringing on average here in America. They should be able to make it. I'm talking about the average. The Sri Lankans at 72,000. That's 74,600. They should be able to make it. The Japanese American at 72,300. They should be able to make it. The Malaysians at 70,300. They should be able, if they go back to Malaysia. What about the Chinese at 69,000? That's the average. We know they make a lot more. Well, couldn't they make it at 69,000? What about the Koreans at 59 too? If they take that back to Korea, couldn't they make it off that? What about the Indonesians at 57.5, or the Thai people at 55,000, or Bangladesh people at 50,000? Couldn't, if they took 50,000 on average, those dollars along with the deportation money that President Trump is giving them, couldn't they make it? And what about Nepali at 43.5 and the Hispanic or Latino people at 43.5, 43,000, excuse me. And where can the Black Americans, the African Americans, the real Americans, the indigenous people, where can we go? Because we were lied to and told we came from Africa. We know it's not true. Even the Africans told us that. So you can't be deported when you are on your homeland. Why are you on your homeland with blood rights and birth rights to the lands and at the bottom? So President Trump is cracking down on unlawful immigration policies. And he's gone even a step further. He signed an executive order called the Restoring Integrity to American Financial System executive order. He's tightening up banking access to foreign non-citizens. He's tightening up banking access for non-citizens. A lot of illegal immigrants were here laundering money through the banks. They were all in on it. I need to see what you all are talking about. Thank you for 500 people being in the chat. Thank you for putting up my Cash App. Sister Janine, our moderator, says my Cash App is $ Mama Kia 13. And I appreciate all of you that donate to me and the work that I do here. Thank you, sister. This is the United States of the Republic. Thank you so much, Apollo. He said, get it straight. Thank you. This is the United States of the Republic. And again, we've fallen 20 years behind to China during the MAGA decade. Well, he's cleaning it up now. Apollo says you can take the Statue of Liberty and give it back to your France people. Give it back to France. We don't need it. Nonprofits are using the profits to get profit, and we end up being the nonprofit. In Texas, a Qatarian says they can attend college and universities free of charge just as long as English is not their first language. As those seeking jobs in the education field, including their starting pay, is higher also. They can go into college and universities free of charge as long as they don't speak English. This is wild. They can also get mortgages. College students that are not from America, documented or undocumented, can get mortgages or loans for houses without a college degree, without being an American, without being a citizen. So with the Restoring Integrity to American Financial System, President Trump is tightening up the banking system. So now banks, the Trump administration says that bankers at the banks can ask and must ask immigration status. If they want a mortgage, a bank account, or any credit. Before any banking decisions or credit decisions are finalized, you have to know the immigration status of immigrants. And you have immigration attorneys online now on YouTube saying that's unfair and it's unlawful. It's a civil rights violation. Well, we're not really concerned about civil rights. What's the human rights? What are sovereign rights? What does the Republic for the Constitution of our country say? So now banks must consider as part of their customers' ability, before customers can be granted credit, you have to know their ability to repay mortgages and credit cards. If they're undocumented, they don't really have a lawful ability to pay back those debts because they were racking up debts here. And if they decided to, first of all, many of them were using unlawful and illegal identification. So that they can rack up debt under that name or that social security number, whatever number they have. Secondly, they can rack up debt here and go back home, whether they're legal or illegal, and just leave the debt behind for Americans to pay. Somebody got to pay that debt off. So I asked, okay, this is the financial industry. Now banks want to know what their status is, and their lawyers are saying, their attorneys are saying, this isn't fair. But what they're discovering, again, is that, they weren't paying the debt back. They were using unlawful licenses. And so all these attorneys that were speaking on their behalf, they're panicking. As of June 2026, immigration attorneys are struggling to keep up with the tightening of regulations. And they're experiencing stress, pressure, and burnout. They can't keep up with the regulations. And they know their jobs are on the line because some of them are undocumented. Some of them are DACA. Some of them stayed in them. They didn't even bother to get legal status, some of them. But even the ones that are here legally know that all this is under question. So you got people that won't come to work, that are immigrants, both legal and illegal, because they know that ICE is cracking down. You got whole court offices now under stress with shortage of workers. A lot of attorneys, and especially immigration attorneys. Now, an immigration attorney, they can service people all over America. So they can be in Florida and they can service somebody in California, Nevada, all over America, because immigration is a federal issue. So they're making money hand over fist. To this day, they're saying, oh, if you don't like what President Donald Trump is doing, join our lawsuit. Immigrants paying out the wazoo for immigration attorneys. But the attorneys are under stress. Some of them aren't coming to work. Some of them are being arrested. Some of the judges are being arrested because they've been hiding out illegal immigrants. We even saw an arrest of a judge in his chambers because he was hiding out an illegal immigrant. Look up my video called FBI Raids. I'll show you the people in many various occupations, including in a courtroom, attorneys and judges being arrested right now. So the Trump administration is cracking down, seriously, on immigration. I don't know if you saw this, but illegal immigrants, and some legal too, have been smuggling hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash out of America. I saw one video where there was this one couple, I don't know if they were just friends or whatever. Young people were smuggling $100,000 into China. Speaking of China, in 2020, the airport in Louisville, Kentucky, where I lived at that time, seized over 10,000 automatic weapon parts from China that were smuggled into America through Louisville airports. Why Louisville? Well, Louisville was considered the transportation hub of America back then and of the world. But now Iraq is rivaling with that because Iraq created a new transportation hub in 2025, and they unleashed it or unveiled it April the 1st or 2nd, 2025, to become the major transportation hub in the Middle East and possibly the world, connecting more than 66 nations or countries to their transportation hub. That is faster and more efficient than any other transportation hub right out of Iraq. And that, because of that increased the demand for Iraqi dinars. You want to know more about that? Join the private group. We get into it. What that means for the Iraqi dinar when you have an increase in the demand of Iraqi dinars due to their transportation hub being the largest, most effective, most efficient transportation hub in the world. Again, if you want to join my private group, hit the join button. No, this isn't it right here. Hit the join button on my YouTube channel. So let me show you this group. Who was it? These were Chinese immigrants that were smuggling, and it's all over YouTube, different immigrants smuggling money. Chinese immigrants busted smuggling $100,000 through the airport, deported on the spot. They were questioned. Where'd you get this money from? Oh, we won it at the casino, they said. And some of it I worked for, she said, and some of it he worked for. And the officers are like, $100,000? Which casino did you win this money from? From which casino? And what kind of work are you doing? And why are you transporting $100,000? This is why ICE have been sent to help TSA with the issue at the airports. People are trying to flee here because they're illegal, unlawful, and even the legal ones were stealing money or smuggling money from drug trafficking, XA trafficking, human hate trafficking. And there's even a video out about how some of them were smuggling cars out of America and had illegal licenses. They're being arrested at car lots because they've been buying cars with illegal licenses, laundered money, unlawful illegal banking documentation. And we thought President Donald Trump, not me, but people thought he was just being racist. No, this has been allowed to go on for too long. Do you know that the change of status situation where you were allowed to stay in America and change your status, even though you're undocumented or your visa ran out and wait for your green card, has been going on since the 1950s? We're not even going to talk about how many people were allowed to come here from different nations and different countries to live on top of the heads of the indigenous people here. And they can call themselves American or United States citizens, which is chattel property of the United States Incorporated. All this is being overturned because they might have won several battles, but they didn't win the ultimate war. When I say they, I mean the deep state, cabal, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, the beings that are not from here, that shapeshift to try to look like us, but they aren't us. The war is over. The ancestors have returned. This is why pastors were given notification. You can look at my video called Pastors Are on Notice, Tell the People the Truth. Pastors were put on notice, tell the people the truth about who seeded humanity here. It's not, that's according to what they say. According to what the pastors are saying, we got to notice that we have to tell the people that it wasn't no one sky daddy that seeded humanity here, that there were actually extraterrestrial life that seeded certain human populations here. And that a lot of what we were told in religion is under scrutiny. Well, I don't even know how we cannot see this when most of us know about the Nicene Council. Was it 325 AD? The Romans had a Nicene Council where they changed and rewrote the text known as the Bible. And with King James had some little things going on about him that wasn't rightful. Thank you so much for the Cash App blessing, for the gift, for the donation. But let's take a look. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you all. You all are amazing. Well, somebody said, call me, please. You sent me a Cash App gift and said, call me. Okay. Thank you. So look at this. Right here, I have a video, and we'll end on this, and I'll answer your questions. Notice to all churches. Pastor and churches have been put on notice. They had a meeting where many pastors were gotten a notice saying, tell the people the truth about religion, about God, and about extraterrestrial life.
Old to prepare.
Hold on. I just want you to see that the truth has come out. This is the era of disclosure. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Here we go.
Being told to prepare for a Bible-changing event. In fact, many of them are all over social media right now, and some are kind of freaking out over the information that they just heard. Now, according to them, there was a secret meeting in Tennessee with the 6 of them. They were not allowed to bring any phones or recording devices, but the meeting was held with supposedly people that are linked to the intelligence community still, whether or not they're still employed with the government, nobody knows. And reportedly also one congressman called into the meeting, and that was actually Eric Burleson. He's a congressman from Missouri. He called in. He doesn't know who was in attendance or what was said, but he called in and made a statement. But anyway, all of this is now going viral on the internet in light of the UAP UFO disclosure that is up and coming. And this is what that meeting was all about. Now, before I even dive into this meeting, what makes this even more interesting is Kash Patel just came out and dropped a bombshell of his own when he was in an interview with Sean Hannity. And I'm going to let Kash Patel tell you the dealings here. But here he is talking about UFOs with Sean Hannity. Take a listen to what he says here.
Every other president before President Trump could have said, hey, let's look at that and get the American people the information. What did he do? He stood up an interagency process with Department of War leading that effort to get out the documentation related to everything that you're talking about, not just from the FBI, from the IC and everywhere else. And so what do? We already delivered our first tranche of information to that committee, and they're going to be publicly releasing this information very soon.
Wow. They are going to be publicly releasing the information very soon. In other words, Kash Patel said, okay, Donald Trump, you want UFO files? Here's what we have from the FBI here.
So basically, essentially what they're saying is they're going to release information about extraterrestrial life. And the caption here says, pastors freaking out, told to prepare now. FBI director confirms a Bible-changing event. So they're going to talk about how religion was given to people to control them. The religion, and I honestly do support rights and value systems to govern life. In my opinion, everybody has their own tribal ways and their own cultural ways. But what we see is some religions, if not all of them, being part of the government. Government just means control the mind. Just like you have a government put in place, United States incorporating governments all over the world, the whole word means to control, govern, or manage the mind, government, the mentality. They do it through religion. They do it through policy, statutes, and codes and legalities that they call laws. Now, pastors are being told, you got to tell the truth. There's no separation of church and state. If there were, the churches would have been allowed to stay open when the whole world was shut down. But the churches were given a mandate like everybody else, close your doors. And if you don't, you'll be arrested. There was a pastor in Florida that kept his doors open. He said, I'm not going to do what you say do. We are here to meet on God's terms. We believe in fellowshipping, and he got arrested. You have to be a contrarian in a lot of ways, but a lot of the pastors were complicit, and some of them got funds to set up shop to give people the inoculation. I don't want to bore your patience. I'll see what else she's talking.
Is our first trunks of information. Now, there are reports that we're going to be getting this information in July. Hopefully it comes sooner, but considering the history, it could be prolonged as well. But either way, the president has his hands on some of that information. And let's just hope it's not like the last file release from the FBI. But either way, that is what we have. Now, kind of moving on to the pastors here, the big question is, okay, Kash Patel has delivered a trove of information to the FBI. I still want information from Area 51 and other things. But anyway, I digress. With all of that in the hands of the president, we now have pastors all over saying, we just had this secret meeting. They're about to disclose something huge. Take a look at this. And this is.
Yeah, and you can even look up pastors on YouTube and see some of them saying they had a secret meeting, and their congregation is going to be shocked with whatever information they're going to share with their congregations.
It's on Daily Mail. Religious leaders told to prepare now for UFO disclosure to unleash Bible-changing revelations. Now, again, this included pastors, and approximately 6 pastors were in on this. And I'm going to read you that part. This reported meeting involved approximately 6 Christian leaders, including Bishop Alan Ditto of Revival Nation Church, who confirmed he was part of the extraordinary gathering. Ditto actually said this. It seems like half of the dozen people were gathered in an Airbnb in the mountains of Tennessee discussing an investigation that's going on in the U.S. government against crimes they have committed in the process of retrieving and reverse engineering technology from non-human intelligence. I believe UFOs are legit. I believe they're interdimensional. I believe they're fallen angels, demons, and the whole 9 yards. But anyway, I do believe that they're using that technology and reverse engineering it. But he goes on to state that the meeting also went forward to discuss the propaganda plan that was in place leading up to disclosure. The pastor added in a March 7th live stream on YouTube. So there you go. Now here is the pastor, Alan Ditto, who made that statement that I just stated. He's got this whole video on it here. And he basically says, I was brought into a private meeting with other pastors. He wasn't allowed to record anything. And he says, disclosure is coming and many are going to be prepared for what follows. Pastors must begin preparing their flock. And he puts this 40-minute video out regarding that whole thing. But that's one of the things that I wanted to show you regarding all of this, that evidently this is a meeting that did happen. Now there's another video that has come out regarding these pastors and what reportedly was said. And I want to show you this. This is on Shadow of Ezra, and he shares this clip of a man saying, he knows or heard about these pastors at this meeting. Take a listen to what is said here, and I'm going to add to it at the end, but take a listen.
Full of pastors invited to come to a private meeting with a group of men who are connected with the intelligence world that are believers, but are still have very high security clearance. These are legit, true men of God that are still connected to Washington, and even this current administration and all branches of the military.
Okay, so there is no way for us to confirm who was all at the meeting regarding whether or not they were actually connected to the IC. These are men, still potentially involved with the military and the United States government. I don't know. There's no way for us really to know. Nothing was recorded. Nothing was jotted. But this is reportedly the claim being made by some of the pastors. But here he goes on to say or details what he's been told.
And they literally told us, we had a sitting congressman, a very well-known congressman from Missouri. He called into that meeting as well. That was just for pastors. And this is what he said. On speakerphone, this sitting powerful member of Congress said, "Are the pastors listening to me?" I'm getting chills right now because this happened to me. He said, "Are the pastors in the room listening to me?" And I said, "Yes, sir, we are here." And he said, "Listen to me. Go and tell the church they are not ready for what is coming. Narrative that is coming. What they are going to say is going to be like nothing you can even imagine. They are preparing to tell us that they are from another dimension, that they are our creator, and that these beings, these aliens, whatever you want to call them, they were the ones that seeded us here. There is no such thing as God. Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them." And begin to just say, listen, prepare the people for what is coming because they're not ready.
Pretty intense, right? So pastors are now being told
He said that the Bible was created by them. What else did he say? Wait a minute. Let me see what he said.
These aliens, or whatever you want to call them, they were the ones that seeded us.
Aliens, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones that seeded us in. They're the ones that seeded us on this planet. That's what they're saying. What else?
Here, there is no such thing as God.
There's no such thing as God. Well, that's arguable, but I'm just telling you what they're saying. And what God? Which God?
Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them.
Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them.
And begin to just say, listen, prepare the people for what is coming because they're not ready.
Prepare the people for what's coming because they're not ready. Imagine all the people that were taught one way. There's only one God. You can't read any book outside the Bible. There's only one God that seated people here. Even though the Bible says, let us make man in our own image. That women came from men. The woman came from the rib of a man, which it could be, but we do know that everybody has a navel, which means you had an umbilical cord, which means you came from a woman. So was everything taught in reverse? And what about parthenogenesis when they said women can't have babies alone when Mary had a baby without a man? Now, I love men, don't get me wrong, and I'm all for natural childbirth, but I'm just saying when people try to talk to people about parthenogenesis or how women or the first beings were more androgynous or more feminine and how they had babies without sex, people get all up in arms, even though their biblical Mary, the mother of Jesus, had a baby through parthenogenesis, because who else impregnated her? Unless you're going to say God did it. And some people do say that, but all the things that we've been taught are under a light now in a magnifying glass.
Pretty intense.
During this era of disclosure, and it is pretty intense.
That's right. So pastors are now being told to
prepare their congregation. Who are they being told by? The government? Possibly. Well, we do know that they have a 501c3, as somebody mentioned. I'm grateful to be here too. They have a 501c3. That is a status. Thank you. That's who it was. Sister Regina. She said they have a 501c3. And none of the statutes, codes, or policies are laws. I agree. Sister Janine says, Juniper, we're glad you're here. Welcome, Juniper. What's the illusion of grandeur, Demetrius, that people are saying they are God? I don't know if that's what you mean. The Bible says ye are gods. Okay, so somebody had mentioned how there were people here that were trying to buy cars with, hey, Chief Mac, I'm about to wind up. I see you in the chat. I'm just now seeing you. I'm going to send you a link. The old one that I sent you was to the first live I tried to do that was interrupted. So I just sent you a link if you're in the chat, Chief Mac. We're just talking about how President Trump says illegal immigration and immigration legalities or policies have harmed America. I see you in the chat, Chief. Welcome. They fallen, Dr. Kia. One may not see things all at once, but I see they are falling. Yes, the people who were in power that allowed all these foreign nationals to come into our country and infiltrate every segment of society, they're falling down. In fact, the Chinese Communist Party of China is collapsing, if they not collapsed already. In 2023, 400 million people defected from the Chinese Communist Party. They were saying they were forced in the CCP. They were born in there. They were blacklisted, or what do you call it? Blackmailed. And they had a celebration called Tai Dong in New York. 400 million people defected from the Chinese Communist Party in 2023. And Evergrande, or Evergrande, however you say it correctly, the largest real estate company owned by the Chinese Communist Party, filed for bankruptcy in America. And then the following year, around 2024, they were forced to liquidate their assets. How do you file bankruptcy in America unless you own a lot of land in America? Love Hug says Pastor Rodney Howard Browns of the River Church, Tampa Bay, was arrested for keeping his church open during the 2020 pandemic shutdown. When he got out, he said he would never close his church. He has had service every day since. Shout out to Pastor Rodney Howard Brown. He's like, I'm not going to let the government control me. Yeah, a lot of people that were here from foreign countries have a huge amount of debt. God's Grace says they have the audacity to tell young men the only way to not enlist in the army is to catch a case and go to jail. Ooh, that's entrapment. You think it's time for Dr. Kia and Trump to meet? Jeffrey Short, thank you, darling. I was trying to find what some of you said about what some illegals were doing. The Plan ET has been invaded and infested, but a lot of our people don't want to hear it or party, and we might have to leave them behind and help their children, right? Some people's going to choose to stay in the third dimensional reality while the rest of us ascend in 5D and help those that want to be helped. I see you, Chief. I'm going to bring you on in 1 minute. Gabrielle impregnated Mary. It wasn't through sex. It was through parthenogenesis. Thank you, Sister Karen. A lot of people has been genocided since the foundation of the corporation. Come on. Satan is Saturn. All right. Israel is committing genocide. Israel is Isis, Ra, El. Y'all coming on through here. You talking about Enoch? Chief Mack said there's a difference between church and what there is no difference between church and the government. Somebody asked, what is 501c3? I was trying to find, and I'll find it when Chief Mack goes on what you said about people who were here illegally buying up cars. If you could put that comment in a chat again for us to see. And thank you for those of you who sent me a Cash App blessing. We're going to bring Chief Mack in. Those of you who sent me a gift through Cash App, I'm going to say, and I'm saying thank you. I did heart your messages to show my appreciation. Sister Diane says this is for love. She sent the Cash App gift. Sister Destiny says Majestic Street, Houston, Texas in the house. She sent a Cash App gift. Oh no, Destiny, that might be a gentleman. Destiny Willis might be a gentleman. Google Native Americans and the stars, he says. Okay. Call me, please. He gives his number. Sister Michelle sent the gift. Wow, a nice hefty gift. Thank you so much for the Cash App gift. Thank you, Chief Mack, for the gift. Thank you, Terrence Floyd. He said this is for a gift. Sister Shantae Singleton says, please check your email from me. I will. Thank you for the Cash App gift. Thank you, Sister Linda, for the Cash App gift. Thank you again, Chief Mac. Thank you, Sister Kathy, for sending me a Cash App gift. Thank you, David Keith Quigley, also known as this is Chief Rod Hayes calling me, also known as JFK Jr. Hold on. Hello. 1 minute, please. 1 minute. All right, family. Without any further ado, welcome Chief Mac. Chief Mac, go in. I'm on the phone with Chief Rod Hayes. I won't be long.
Greetings.
Welcome.
How you doing?
Speak your piece. I'm doing fine.
Very interesting conversations we're having, and we're really putting information out there that's causing people to awaken. And I was in Rare Forum last night when I went live. For those of you who hadn't seen my live yesterday, make sure you have some tissue because you're gonna be in tears. But listen, the United States Corporation. You want to know why the United States Corporation brought all the illegal immigrants here? You want to know why? Yes. The United States Corporation brought what they created here. What they created is what they brought here. And what they brought here was infiltration. So guys, I'm asking you a question, and I've said it before already. Who created the United States Corporation?
Mm-hmm.
Who created the United States Corporation? I've said that. Who created in 1948 that land that they call Israel is a corporation because it didn't exist until 1948. So before 1948, there were nobody, the people that's in that land wasn't in that land. They were placed there. And they were placed there because they were created. Okay then? And they were created, and before then, in the 1800s, it was known that the so-called black man and black women were the chosen people, if you will.
Indigenous. Mm-hmm.
The indigenous people were known as the chosen people because in 1936, the movie, and many of you go and watch that production, the biggest production done in 1936, called Green Pastures. Mm-hmm. Green Pastures shows you that all the black people, no race of people, were the angels in heaven. And they were the first people created on earth. In that production, before 1948, the Green movie production that was done in 1936 shows you that all black people were angels in heaven and that the creator was so-called black, and they never said anything about Jesus in that movie at all, period. In fact, the angel, the archangel that was closest to the creator was, if I'm not mistaken, Michael, or Gabriel or Michael, if I'm not mistaken. But they never said one word about Jesus. And this is going to be, the Jesus story was created. And it's not as old, talking about 2,000 years old, that it's a lie. And these pastors are getting ready to come out and if you are a devout Christian, I hope that you don't catch a serious case of cognitive dissonance, because they're going to come out and tell you that there was no Jesus, and in fact, the Jesus character is Lucifer. Hold on to your britches. Hold on, because what's going to happen? Could you imagine being a victim of a rapist and then falling in love with him? Woo! Could you imagine being a victim of a rapist that took your virginity, took it, something that you wouldn't want to give, and then you become so brainwashed that you make excuses for the rapists and you fall in love with them and you protect them. Well, that's what many Christians are going to do, is when they come out and say that Jesus never existed, and in fact, the character of that is Lucifer.
It's
Because
called the
your mom
Stockholm
told-
Syndrome. It's the Stockholm Syndrome, refers to a psychological phenomenon where hostages or
It's not-
abuse victims become a trauma-based emotional bond. They form a trauma-based emotional bond, sympathy, or feelings of affection towards their own captors or abusers. Stockholm Syndrome. Go ahead, Chief.
Well, that's what, you know, a cognitive disorders is the ability not to want to accept the truth. That's what that is. And that's what a lot of people, it's going to be too much for people to handle here. And I'm glad that I was able to, it's going to be too much for people to handle when they come out and tell people the truth and show you these images. So last night, I did a video for 3 hours. I showed you the clip when they showed you who the Jesus Christ character was.
Okay.
Well, an 8-foot, a 10-foot entity with wings like a bat. And they said, here's your saving salvation. Here's Jesus. They tell you in the movie. They telling you guys. And they made people drink the blood for real. So stop playing. Stop drinking that grape juice. Drink some real blood and eat some real flesh. Because that's what they do, the reptilians do. Because that's their ritual. Where they eat flesh, real flesh, and they drinking real blood. And you guys doing it symbolically. And when you do it symbolically, it's no difference than doing it in real life. It's no difference. So what if they tell you guys that you're gonna have to drink blood, real blood, and eat some real dead flesh? Stop playing. We're gonna see how much faith you really have. You eat this flesh, this rotten flesh. Eat it. No, we don't know where it comes from, but eat it. So it's the body of Christ. Okay, and drink this blood. Drink it, and you should know that life is in the blood. And when you're putting other blood inside you, you take on that persona. This is why it is said that, you know, when you're eating your meat, you should eat it kosher. It shouldn't be any blood in meat if you still eat meat. And it should be cooked. But the reptilians got people loving their meat, medium rare. And you want to know why you got these animalistic type personalities. And your body's aging and, you know, jacked up. We got a lot of unlearning to do. We got a lot of and the more you unlearn this beat system, ways and customs and tradition, and learn the true ways, which the true ways were created and taught by the indigenous people, which is us. We are now teaching the world, and the other nations, to be honest with you, they can't teach. Because if you teach, you're gonna have to tell the truth about who you are, and they're not willing to tell the truth about who you are and where you come from. So you shouldn't be teaching. The indigenous people are the people in this day, age, and time are the teachers, because we're gonna tell the truth. We're gonna tell nothing but the truth, and people don't want to hear that. And people have been so spoiled out of all these years living off our states. And when they say the time is up, the gig is up, now you want to start complaining, whining like some grown-ass babies. But you were brought here the wrong way, and you're going to have to come back. If you want to come back, you have to leave and come back the right way. Because the way you were brought in was infiltration. You were given all of our birthrights that should have been coming to us.
It was.
And you don't want to say anything about it. You're making money off, you're living comfortably and good off of the millions of black men and black women going to prison. You're being successful and living your heaven on earth by our demise. And the gig is up, and we're going to talk about it until we're going to keep on talking about it until it sticks. And you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to be here to complain. You can be somewhere else. You don't have to be here listening to it. But we are going to tell the truth, and it's not hate speech. No, we're not racist. So we're racist because we're telling the truth. So be it. You know. So, go ahead.
Let me show you, Chief, because so many people, you said they've been here living off of the resources of the Americans. Here, several prominent cases involving Chinese nationals residing in the United States without legal status who were sentenced to federal prison for fraud. And people think President Trump is being he has xenophobia, I think where he hates people from other nations. Here's a person here, I don't know this, Jian Gang He, in February 2026, sentenced to 96 months or 8 years in prison in the United District Court for the state of Ohio. He acted as a courier in a complex fraud scheme targeting elderly Americans. He personally stole over $500,000 in cash and gold from older victims. More details are available through the United States Attorney's Office. Here's another one, Ri Yang, April 2026, sentenced to 30 years in prison in Hartford, Connecticut for identity theft and a luxury vehicle fraud scheme. I think that's what somebody in the comment section was talking about. He used stolen identities and counterfeit identity cards to secure over $94,000 in vehicle financing. Case updates can be reviewed through the United States Attorney Office. Here's somebody by the name of Yang Gao Lu. September 2026, sentencing pending. Pleaded guilty in June 2025 to conspiracy to commit money laundering in California. Liu acted as a bulk cash courier in an elder fraud ring where he faces up to 20 years in federal prison. You can get more information there. And there's more and more, all these different Chinese illegal aliens or unlawful people residing in the United States. And there are others. It's not just those. They're fugitives now trying to run and escape. Like I said, that's why they have ICE workers at the airports. That's why they have ICE workers at the water ports. They've been smuggling guns, drugs, doing all type of things. Not just Asian, but I told you that the former Speaker of the House, Mike Pompeo, said he knew that the governors allowed the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, to send people here in America. Here's Jinglang Su, been sentenced by a United States court in prison for laundering more than $36.9 million from a digital asset investment. A lot of them been here taking advantage of American citizens, using unlawful, illegal ID, stealing from the elderly, stealing from people classified as black, stealing from even people classified white. They don't give a darn. Making themselves rich in our country. I yield, Chief.
They be giving an open game. And you said something earlier, kid. You said something about the hospitals and how these people in the hospitals treat, they didn't know how to really treat Americans.
Yes.
Listen, guys. Like I said, they're brought here as infiltration. They're brought here as infiltration. And we go into the hospitals. If we trust in these people with our health, and they are making us sick. Because once again, sick people, this beast system rich. When you're sick and you go in these hospitals, they have the ability to tap into your state. You give them your social security number, they go right there and tap into your state. We're eating from these people in our communities, and they're frying up our food and cooking our food with this MSG, all of these toxic seasonings, and cooking our, frying our foods up in this grease that's got plastic in it. You know, Crisco oil, if you put up the original Crisco oil when we were children, kid, back in the 70s and 80s,
I remember
you could buy a Crisco oil for like 59 to 79 cents. And then you open it up, it was in a plastic like container, and you open it up with a can opener, it was white paste, right?
It was.
It was like a white paste. How many of you guys remember that, Gen X? It was like a white type of paste. But
Mm-hmm.
did you know the company that made Crisco oil was the company that made plastic?
No.
Pull it up, it's there. You know, I'm a researcher. I see this. They made
Mm.
plastic. So when we were then, so church, by the way, certain food industries that fried chicken up were frying their foods up with this type of grease and reusing the
Mm.
grease over and over again. And that's why in the Black communities, we are the sickest amongst any and all race of
Mm.
people, because we eating that when that chicken is hot. Of course, it's good, but the grease is cooked in. It's made from plastic residue,
Mm.
and we eat. Our arteries are clogged up. They've been running to this hospital thinking that these people care about us. They put us on all kind of pharmaceutical, which is sorcery. They're running a
Mm.
full court press on us. Then they put us in the prison systems, and then those of us who don't have family members, they put us on these psychological type drugs that make you see in the spiritual world that you cannot handle with a carnal mind. Slapping us with felonies, guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're running the full court press on us, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say I don't have time to be arguing and going back and forth with people, because we got work to do.
Absolutely.
I don't have time to be trying to make life harder or more difficult when we already going through it already. Because I see what's happening in our community. I see the war, which is covert to many, but not covert to me and us. We see these things. And this is why, if anybody's here other than so-called Black people, and you hear all of these atrocities that's been waged against us, we're making less than anybody that's coming over here, and then you are living off our state, living your heaven on earth. They building communities out here just for foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
And these $3.5 million home subdivisions out here, right in Georgia, in Gwinnett County.
Mm-hmm.
I with my business partners and seeing that they had a community, beautiful community, a lake out there, a place where they can walk, tennis courts, basketball courts for their families to live heaven on earth. And these people are not working jobs, because a job is meant to stress. They don't work those jobs, but they living in these $300 to $500 million homes, and don't even. But they can out there. They're walking as a community. They're walking with each other. There are Africans out there. There are Indians out there. There are Asians out there living right here in Gwinnett County, Georgia, about 45 minutes to 50 minutes south. North of Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, Gwinnett County. I was out there, saw these people out there walking. Now they can't work. A job is meant to stress you. A job is just over. A job is what you call linear income, and you can never become wealthy or whole working a job. A job won't put you in overflow. A job won't put you in position to be that saving salvation to your family members. A job, if you make good money, you're gonna live off of it. And nobody else is gonna benefit off of it. You're gonna have to get you a big house, a car, and you're gonna be maxed out. That's the way most people live. We're gonna be maxed out. Well, we can only shine and look good off the job we have, and then we're gonna say to our brothers and sisters, "I got mine, you get yours." If we grew up in the same house, I way out of it. You find a way. That's how we do. While these other nations, like brother and sister, we got a 5-bedroom house. We could be two or three per room, and we're gonna turn the garage into a kitchen too, and we're gonna watch each other children. And we got this gas station. We're gonna take time to have the shift there. The women, y'all stay home. Make sure you take care of the children. Feed them. Man, we're gonna go out here. We're gonna work this gas station, and we're gonna pull the money from them and put it in our community while they're busy fighting, arguing, tearing each other down, and being fools in their own land. Ensures that we can live our heaven on earth and their land that belong to them, because they're foolish, they're stupid. So we ain't got no respect for them, because they don't even respect themselves or each other. They don't respect each other. So why should we respect them? They're fools. Look at them on the social media platforms, half naked, calling each other bitches and hoes, lying on each other. Look at them. They're fools. Do they deserve to be respected? No. They're imbeciles. They're watching us, lying on each other, talking about each other, ridding each other, persecuting each other, acting like fools, cussing each other out, calling the women bitches, hoes, and sluts, and they don't. Why should they respect us? Why should they?
That's
So
true.
shame on you guys. Shame on if you so-called indigenous and on these platforms, so-called preaching truth, and you out here telling lies on people. Shame on you. Shame on you. If you have a platform and you're indigenous and so-called woke, you should be putting this message out there. You should be cleaning your shit up and stop causing chaos and lying on people, because you're so foolish. You're making things. You think you're trying to make life difficult for this person that you're talking about, but guess what? You're making life difficult for yourself and your bloodline.
You froze, Chief.
I said you're making people who are doing these things are not think they're trying to make life difficult for other people. You're really making life difficult for yourself and your bloodline. You're really doing that. And so we have work to do. We have work to do for Soul Family.
We
So
do.
we have to operate.
We do.
We have work to do, don't we, Kim?
We do. And we're also online bickering about why we don't need men. And that's you don't hear any other women. I don't hear them talking like we do. And it's, like you said, we become a laughing stock. We don't need men. Men ain't this, men ain't that. When we don't understand that we've been under systemic oppression that has caused the disorder in our communities and in our tribes. We got to rein all this back in.
Ain't no melody man out there talking about we don't need women. And most of the women that's saying probably got a blow up doll named Ken. Or a blow up doll in their house named Shaka Zulu. Most of the women are saying
turn
that.
this all around. We are being set free, and we are now speaking the truth so that we can set people free. The truth will make you free. Family, if you believe this is our time, as a human population, hashtag freedom now in the comments section. We command freedom from all of this religious dogma, from the government lies, from them enslaving us and allowing all these people here to live off our estate. Freedom now. We command it to be so. Now, Chief, one time you had said that a lot of these people are living off of our birth certificate bonds, Social Security numbers. How does that happen? What does that mean exactly?
Well, everybody, especially the indigenous people, because the land belongs to us in trust. When I about 3 years ago, I've had my birth certificate authenticated for 4 years. About 4 years. I got it authenticated on the state level, the federal level. And I came across some information. They said that when you become when you get your birth certificate authenticated on the state and then you do it on the federal level, when you receive that package back, it's on bond paper.
Okay.
And it says full faith and credit. Your full faith and credit.
Okay.
Over that estate. And that's a number that's been attached to you that's in the system at the top. Well, I was told that when I took that number at the top that was attached to me becoming full faith and credit and put another series of number in that, when I Googled that, you know what I found out? It blew me away. And found out that they would use my trust estate to build houses all over America.
Wow.
Subdivisions. I had the addresses to the subdivision and it blew me away. I'm like, this is a cold-blooded, man. Subdivisions in Ohio, Indiana, all over. These so-called contractors don't have their own money. They're using these states, our trusted states, and pulling. And as a matter of fact, there was another way. I got to find this way out. They're showing there are all kinds of institutions and LLCs and companies out there using our trusted state, guys. All kinds of it. We're nothing but energy. The police department is nothing but a corporation, LLC, that turned us to corporations and corps. They out here hitting these streets, creating laws so that they can tap into our state, because the police ticket has a barcode on it. It's a security. It's a security.
Wow.
So what if people found a way on how to shut your state down to keep the police from being able to? The police out there, they pulling people over for a mere running a so-called running a stop sign or a red light, and they treated you like you're a hitman, like you're a killer, like you got 100 pounds worth of cocaine in your car, just off a traffic hit. They come into your car with their eyes wide open, hand on the trigger, and you're like, "Damn, officer." You don't, all, and if your brother gets mad, I just breeze to this. You said I ran the stop sign. Just write me the ticket. But sir, was your man stepping out the car? Officer, am I on arrest? Well, no. Okay, but why I step out my car? I don't trust you like that, officer. But in fact, call your superior. You're making me nervous. You're scaring me, officer, right now. Even write me the ticket so I can keep on my way. You don't get to tell me where I can go and get off this road. You said I ran the stop sign. Well, write me a ticket, officer. If you can't, well, sir, can you step out your car? Yes, no. I had that happen to me before, and I set him straight. And got rid of the ticket.
Chief, but how is it that a lot of undocumented immigrants, foreign nationals, are allowed to be in a police department? And we're not even talking about United States and unlawful. How?
Because these people don't mind locking you up because they have no love for you. Connected to the tribes. They overstand. Trust me, the men in blue, they sign and they have to swear with their hands up. Their job is to go out here and make life difficult for the indigenous people because they're hired as infiltration in our communities. They were supposed to be protect and serve. These people don't protect and serve the indigenous people. They're hired as they're there to take from our state, to trumpet up laws. When we get in these prison systems, they're there. So the other nations, they're hired, and then you see more. They're more so. You would find more so other nations and people who are policemen than so-called black men and women, because some black men and women, when they get inside there and they see these atrocities being done, some of them can't handle it. They said, "No, it's just too much on the conscience." The other ones that's in there, they're sworn under secrecy, and they said, they're gonna have to pay for that, for the atrocities done to our people. So these other nations of people are hired quick. They don't have no love for us. They understand their assignment. They understand their assignment against us. They will lock you up. They will shoot you with a heartbeat and do all of it because they understand their assignment. They're given the rights. They're given the rights to be bullies, to be gangsters against us and our communities. And this is going to stop. It has to stop, and it will stop. And the whole thing is keep that thumb down on us to pull from that estate, to enrich the establishment, and then the establishment rewards them.
Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Well, thankfully, a lot of them have been forced to take off their badges and relinquish their guns, especially if they're undocumented. And in many towns, whole police departments are downsizing, and they're taking the duties of the police departments and putting them underneath the sheriff department. And we know that's because only the sheriff can enforce the law. Go ahead.
Listen, the sheriffs are more diplomatic.
Okay.
You haven't seen the sheriff that will pull you over and that will act irate like that. The sheriffs are more so diplomatic. and how they deal with you. It's the police that are doing it, but the sheriffs, and so they're putting more sheriffs in my hometown, Gary, Indiana. I've seen more sheriffs out there instead of police cars.
I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that now too. This year, I'm seeing a lot more sheriffs than police officers here in Jacksonville, Florida. But they operate under the republic, right? Only the sheriffs can enforce the law according to our republic. And Chief, I don't know if you remember, but when we were children, a lot of the deputies and sheriffs were just men from your community.
I know that.
They would have yeah, and they knew you. They knew your mom and your daddy. Go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, I don't remember when I was a child in the 70s.
Okay.
The things that are going on right now. Having incidents with the police and things like that. But I can remember, but the police really protect and serve. Mm-hmm. It was truly honorable to be a policeman back then. It's not like that now. The police would carry themselves like sheriffs back then. Now they're like gangsters, and I'm not talking about all of them, but the average policeman is the average so-called policeman is sinister. Woo. Got bad intentions. They're looking for ways. See, this beast system know that it was on its way out, so they trained the policemen to be sinister. See, on their way out, you see they're gonna be more and more sinister. And most of these policemen, if you're so black and you get pulled over, don't get pulled over in a small town. They're gonna try to find every way to trump up charges on you. Every single way to trump up some charges on you. Trying to get in your car, trying to ask you to step out, trying to chop up them, and they're gonna try. And what they're gonna try to do is gaslight you. So they're gonna try to gaslight you to give them a reason to have knock you upside the head, lock you up, and put more charges on you, so they can charge the estate. But
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Who is this? God's Grace says, where I live in California, I can hear them doing their rituals in the morning hours, chants and ceremonial drums from African cultures. And in the daytime, they put runes, RUNES, in the sky above us. Nobody pays attention or looks. You can hear them doing their rituals. Wow. And chants, ceremonial drums. I never knew police officers did all that.
Guys, if we can, we just try to patronize these people. That's why when we get this wealth, we're gonna have to start creating our own stores and things that people we can part. This is gonna really be an amazing time, because now we can start opening up our community and create. And we see that happen right now. There are people from the indigenous tribe who are building their communities right now. It's happening. They're not going. Of course, they're not going to put this on the news. But there's a man who bought like 50 acres of land, and he built like maybe 89 homes on this land.
Wow,
homes.
I love it.
I'm gonna send it to you here to play it.
Okay,
they're
please.
not going to put that on the news. And so this is what's happening. But we're getting tired, and we got to come together as a community with love, honor, and respect. Because if you care about your grandchildren. Because right now, we are the big mamas and big daddies. I'm OG, you big mama. I'm old enough to have grandchildren. You have grandchildren. And we have to set up the parameters, making sure that our children are taken care of. We are in the beginning stages of making sure that happens. Then we got to start bringing incarnating back righteous seeds up on the earth. Because they have been trying to stop us. They turned the women against the men and men against the women. It's not a good thing to be. And I'm talking about when we get married. That marriage stuff is a ritualistic thing. Hundreds of years ago, we didn't put a ring on each other's hands and And then we didn't do all that stuff right there. We saw somebody that we love and we have respect for each other. We said we're going to create a family.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get married the way we get married right now, you put the judge in your affairs, they create that marriage certificate, which is the bond, and they know the marriage ain't gonna last. Then you run down that to the judge saying you want to separate from this person, and then the judge, they stick their hands to your state. And doing when you get married, and they stick their hands into your state when you get divorced. They were full court press with us, man.
And then they
got
dictate.
abortion.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. They have abortion clinics in our community. They have birth control in our community, trying to stop the indigenous people from having that Christ to be incarnated back into this realm. We got.
We do, and then they tell you how you can divide your assets, what happens to them, what happens to your children, and at the same time, their divorce lawyers get paid. When I was younger, divorces might have cost couple $100, maybe $1,000 at the most. Now people paying $10,000, and it's taking a long time because when it's contested, you go back and forth. Then you have to pay extra for this fee and that fee. By the time you get done, you could pay $15,000 to $20,000 just to separate from somebody that you're just done with. But because you got that legal document, that marriage certificate, which is securitized, created into a bond, traded on a stock exchange, accruing interest. When we do that, we involve the state, like you said, and the judge, the government in our affairs. They did it all is to make money and to put their hands in our estate, and we didn't even know it, Chief. We didn't know it.
And then they created child support.
Okay.
Child support. When you on child support, they'll pull up from your estate.
Okay.
That's child support. Child support is geared toward the indigenous men, mostly here in America.
Okay.
It affects us. You don't see, if you go in the child support office, I was on child support at once upon. My daughter's mom took me out of it because I told her how wicked it was. I should never been on child support because I'm able to take care of my daughter. I should have never been on that. And a lot of women, melanated women, are becoming a kryptonite to the indigenous man because the system allows them to do that. But when a man is put on, I know so many men right now that are on child support who they're trying to work a job. They want to take, black men, we ain't not no deadbeat. We love our children. It's the women. Sometimes I've had the babies with the wrong woman, and the system creates an avenue for women to be derogatory to the men. But the child support, so many men that I know that are on child support with suspended license. They're trying. When you're on child support is like having a felony. You can't do certain things if you're $2,500 behind on child support.
Chief, let me show you something. You talked about black men and fatherhood. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chief? Oh, he's frozen. He went out. Go out and come back in. I want to show you all what the Center for Disease Control says about black fatherhood. I was trying to wait for. You said child support is retirement funds for judges. Chief, can you hear me, Chief Mac?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Let me show you something. You were talking about black fatherhood, okay? Here's data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They debunk the stereotype of the absent black father. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reveals that black men who live with their children are highly active in their daily lives. They outpace their white and Hispanic peers in hands-on caregiving like bathing, dressing, and helping with homework. This is what the data shows. Nationally recognized research, including the Center for Disease Control, National Health Statistics Report and data highlighted by the Pew Research Center illustrates active engagement across several daily routines. Physical care. 70% of cohabitating Black fathers bathe, dress, or diaper their children every day, compared to 60% of white fathers and 45% of Hispanic fathers. Academics. 41% of Black fathers help their children with homework daily, compared to 29% of Hispanics and 28% of white fathers. Shared meals. 78% of Black fathers eat meals with their children daily, outperforming whites at 74% and Hispanic 64% counterparts. What about non-residential fathers? The active involvement extends beyond the home. Studies show that non-residential Black fathers are highly engaged, actively talking, reading, and taking their children to activities at higher rates than non-residential fathers of other major racial and ethnic backgrounds. For a breakdown on how news and cultural narratives have shaped and misrepresented the reality of Black fatherhood, please read these documentations. They got all kinds of studies out showing that it was a myth that Black fathers are not involved, that Black fathers ain't ish, that Black fathers are no good in ninjas. The true data shows that African American or Black fathers, fathers classified as Black, Indigenous fathers, Black fathers, are more involved in their lives than every other demographic or ethnic background of men in America. And I yield to you, Chief. That was from the Center for Disease Control, the MATER stats, but there's other data out there. Thank you for talking about Black fathers. They are actively involved. You can vouch for Black men in your area. Thank you, God's grace. All driving jobs will be obsolete soon. Obsolete. Thank you, Cleo. Who's going to take over those jobs? AI? Woo, y'all tell me. Oh, truck drivers beware. Thank you. We need to look at that. Miller says, thank you for those statistics. You're welcome. You love that. Times are changing and trading places and spaces, and they're now telling the truth. So family, I was going to have Chief Mack to wrap up, but he's not in the house. If you want to get in contact with Chief Mack, please email him at unityinmotion45@yahoo.com. You can email him for a consultation. Consultation fees are $75. So that $75 will be paid to his Cash App, which is $Allen Judah 47, ALLEN JUDAH 47. Contact him at unityinmotion45@yahoo.com. All right, Chief, can you have any final words?
Oh, just continue to stay connected to each other, guys. It's a lot we're learning. There's a lot that's going to happen. We're more closer than ever before to this wealth transfer that was predicted centuries ago. That we are living at that time right now. You don't have any foreign currency, gold and silver. You may want to look to get some. You don't have your trust. You can reach out to me to get your trust. I'm helping countless of people not only complete their trust, but get their trust open at the bank, because you're going to need a trust for them to move those credits and funds over into your trust account. The banks will be doing trust, but you don't want to get a trust from the bank because it's going to be known as a skeleton trust. And at least the thing with me, I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to be there with you from start to finish and helping you ensure to get that trust open at the bank. When the RV happens, the people who have got the trust from me, we're going to meet in a private, because when the RV happens, that's nothing that we want to be broadcasting out to any and everybody. So those of you who are connected to Kia's private class, you might want to do that, because we're going to be giving that information over in the private sector, not out in the public. So if you're not a part of, if you got the trust from me, then you should be to Kia. You should be in the private class, because we're not going to, when the RV happens, we're not going to be broadcasting this out to any and everybody who are not part of the wealth transfer. We're going to be giving it in the public, the private settings, in your private group, Kia. So get your trust from me, And those that have got to trust me, whose spirit is right and righteous, we're going to all be meeting up soon because we're going to all be networking amongst each other and doing business with each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh-oh, I hear myself two times. So if you want to join a private group, here's the link. I'll just hit the join button. Anywhere on my channel. Chief, you got another phone up or something? I hear an echo.
Yeah, hold on, let me turn it down some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the link to join my private group. Right here. I pulled it up on the screen. I'll put it in the chat. Chief and I thank you so much for joining us. We just want to keep you updated on what's. If y'all hear breaking news that judges are overturning or outruling something that Trump is saying regarding immigration, trust me, that's only temporary. The judges are trying their hardest to fight against President Donald Trump to keep illegal immigrants here. But they will not prevail. They will not prevail. Their time is up. So thank you all so much for joining us. I still hear. Do y'all hear that echo? Maybe it's just me. Yeah, they're angry. I do have an echo. So I hear the echo. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all those that send a Cash App blessing. Cash App gift. Kelsey Daniels, thank you. Kelsey says, I'm a new follower. I just found out about you. I'm so glad you're here. Sister Janine, our moderator, gave me a Cash App donation. She said, love you so much, Doc. You are my girl. I love you back. Destiny Willis and Michelle Moore and all the others that I shouted out earlier. Thank you so much. We love you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you later on the other side. I love you, Chief, and I'll talk to you.
Love you too, Kev. We'll talk.
Bye, family. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I have to go and I'm about to speak with Chief Rod Hayes because he's going to come on the show sometime this week and I'm excited. So we're going to talk about some intel that he has and we're going to discuss what day he's going to come back on the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show to give us some new updates. I love you, family. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a
Bye bye, Soul Tribe. Go out and make this a great day. Peace. Welcome, new member, Sister Rosalind. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. I appreciate you being here. Go through the membership section and you'll see a lot about new currencies that are being unveiled from countries, and these currencies are gold backed. You'll see how banks met globally to make sure they're ready for currency exchanges. You'll see videos on what's going on in Iraq, what's going on in Vietnam, what's going on in India, Indonesia, Syria, all over the Middle East, Asian nations, and how their economy is being stabilized and how they have repatriated their gold back to themselves. And this is how they will revalue their currencies against the USD. So if you hold foreign currencies and you wait until the time is right, you'll be able to get a new exchange rate and exchange those currencies and become potentially a millionaire or billionaire. You'll also hear about gold, silver, and other precious metals, rare earth minerals, and other geopolitical and global financial news. Thank you and welcome to our Soul Tribe. If you want to get in touch with Chief Mac, thank you, Sister Janine. She says you can contact him for a consultation or for a private trust by emailing him to unityinmotion45@yahoo.com. That's UNITYMOTION45@yahoo.com. This consultation fee is $75, and you will pay that to $Allen Judah 47, $ALEN JUDAH 47. So yes, go ahead. And if you are sending a fee or donate, not a fee, but a donation or gift to Dr. Kia Pruitt at the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show, Sister Janine has put up my Cash App at $Mama Kia 13, $MAMAKIA 13. And we appreciate you so very much for all the gifts, for all your time, for your energy, family, for all the conversations that you have engaged in the chat. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much to Sister Janine. Shout out to Sister Janine, our chat moderator, who has helped us make sure the chat moves along smoothly over the last 5 years. You're welcome, family. And Jeffrey Short has been here giving us breaking intel, especially in the private group. How will we know where to exchange? Any Basel III compliant banks. Basel III compliant means that these banks recognize gold as a tier 1 asset or recognize gold explicitly as money. They also are compliant with new banking regulations to make sure that these banks are transparent. They can no longer steal our money, and they are regulated by strict guidelines, ensuring that they only work for we the people. So those banks will now be considered wealth management centers, and they will be Basel III compliant. So ask your bank if you're Basel III compliant. We know Wells Fargo is supposed to be over the foreign currency exchanges, but as we get more information, we'll be sure to get back with you. I want you to visualize how wealthy you all are, because we have currencies, gold, silver, or precious metals or not, you all will be wealthy through your sovereign wealth funds. That's why people are being asked to return back to their nation. You're a foreign national from somewhere, even if you have a United States citizenship, green card, or you permanent resident, or whatever, you're a foreign national or a national to some other land. If you are, You will return there for your sovereign wealth fund benefits. Each nation has a sovereign wealth fund, which are just trusts that are for the people. In America, it's for we the people, the Americans. For others, it will be for you in your own foreign, or I don't want to say foreign because it's foreign to me, but it's your homeland. So you will return to your homeland and you will receive the wealth from your estate, your sovereign wealth fund, and from the trusts that are there. So think about it. In your mind that you're hashtag freedom now. You're free, you're sovereign, and you are wealthy. So remember, I gave everybody a homework assignment. Think about what that looks like. Write it down. Draw a vision board or write it out in a journal, or construct some pictures or look up vision board and write down what it looks like now that you're wealthy. As you're thinking about that, you'll see it, you'll feel it. The joy will emanate from your being, and you will manifest that, materialize it quickly. The joyful emotions that you attach to it will make you live a wealthy lifestyle in the present. Okay? In the present. As you think about being wealthy, ask yourself, what am I eating? I wake up in the morning, what am I doing? Who is my companion? What does he or she look like? What am I doing with my children? What does the land look like? What am I wearing? How does it smell? What does the environment look like and feel like and smell like? Draw it out. And then put that vision board or that picture on a wall. This is how you'll manifest it quickly. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. You heard from me. You heard from Chief Mac, Chief of the Soul Tribe. You've heard from Sister Janine, our chat moderator, and you've heard from each other. I hope we trust that we've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Go out and make this a day, Soul Tribe. Bye-bye.